All right, welcome in. It's Man's show today. Brian Leonard, I got to be honest, as someone that really likes driving around, if you follow me during college basketball season, you know I get out on the road. I think like this would be like a dream day for me to be like in the car with Tokyo Brandon, just driving to the middle of nowhere, Japan. That sounds awesome to me. That's where TB is today, so we'll miss him. He'll be back tomorrow. But your MLB go-to MLB free pick show right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel will go on as scheduled with myself and Brian Leonard. So it's Monday. It's a little bit slower of a day. How was your weekend, Brian?
Well, it was good for my betting and for the clients. It's been bad for me personally because my air conditioning has been off all weekend.
Oh, jeez.
And I can't get anybody out here till today. So I've been sweating my ass off, and we actually have been staying at one of our local casinos out here, the Suncoast, and they've got a great sports book over there. So we spent the day there yesterday, and I know Tokyo Brandon likes to talk about music. We went to see Rick Springfield last night in Henderson, and he's going to be 76 years old next month. Puts on a hell of a show. He's at his age, he and Mick Jagger are the only two guys I've ever seen in that age group that can just run around, and he still sounds great. It was a really nice show. It's called Back to the 80s or whatever. So John Waits and Wang Chung and Paul Young. Paul Young's not so Paul Young anymore. But, yeah, it was a nice show, and it didn't cost a whole lot. Nice night out with the family.
Now, that's Jesse's girl, right? That's
Jesse's
Rick
girl,
Springfield.
yeah.
Listen, I grew up listening to mostly my parents' music, so I was born in 1986. A lot of people think I'm much younger than I am. I'll be 40 next year. Someone in the chat was like, just shocked at that. Like, I got the baby face. But yeah, I was born in 86, and I mostly grew up listening to music from the 70s and the 80s, which is why I'm such a big Billy Joel fan. And I actually took 11 years of piano lessons because of Billy Joel. And I don't think I've tried to sit down at the piano since I was about 16 years old. So that's too bad. I wish I kept on that later in life. It'd be cool to still be able to play. But anyway, would also be cool is if we can find some winners today. Brian, I feel like there's going to be a theme in a couple of these plays, and the theme is going to be teams playing well in spite of management wishing they didn't play as good as they were playing. Okay? That's the theme. That comes up this time of year every single year. It's who's gonna spite the front office, right? And one of the teams starting to do that is the Minnesota Twins. Okay? The Minnesota Twins were not that far out of it. Okay? I mean, they were out, it wasn't looking great for them, but they certainly weren't, like, if you go back 20 years, they're still trying to win baseball games. What were they, 6 games back? And they made a historic number of moves at the trade deadline, selling pieces off. On top of that, they're leaving guys like Mick Abel. Why is Mick Abel at AAA? Why is he still at AAA? Second great start for Abel at AAA yesterday. Not as good as the first one, but still, they're leaving guys at AAA that would probably help them at the big league level right now. And but what do? They walk off the Royals yesterday, take 2 of 3. Before that, they took 2 of 3 from the Tigers. You were totally right about Luke Keschel, by the way. I got to shout you out because I think before he even played a big league game, you said he might be the best player in their organization, and he is fantastic. Brian, they're going to Yankee Stadium tonight. Suddenly, these games are kind of meaningful. So how are you seeing the Twins, and is this the team you want to bet on at all right now?
Yeah, I listened to about an hour and a half long podcast as much as I can with some Minnesota Twins podcasters and writers. I think they work for either the newspaper or work for the team. But yeah, they had a nice breakdown this week about what's going on in Minnesota. And you mentioned Keschel. He's a young guy. He's playing hot, and he's a spark for this team. And they just got him back, and he has been terrific. Minnesota, they didn't trade away their hitters for the most part, other than Correa, who I didn't think was very good anyway at this point in his career. So they've got some pretty good hitters on this team in the future. It was the bullpen that they traded away everybody, and that was really the strength of the team for a few years now. But they seem to have weathered it a little bit, and they got Zebby Matthews going on the mound today against Will Warren. Warren's about a 175 favorite, total of 9 to the under, 8.5 to the over. And you're right. This is a team now starting to believe in themselves. I thought I was going to be fading Minnesota on a regular basis after the trade deadline, and we had success doing that for the first few games. But lately, they're playing very well, as you pointed out, going against the Yankees, who found another way to lose yesterday. They are just not playing well. They're making minor league mistakes defensively, throwing to the wrong base, getting caught in rundowns. Just they've never been a very fundamental team. I don't like the manager. I've never liked Boone. I think he should be fired. I don't, I'm not Tokyo Brandon that jumps off the handle on a lot of these things, but I think we've seen enough out of him, and they've got more talent than what they should with their record. Granted, the starting rotation has been a problem this year. They've had some injuries, but they just get healed back, and he's not the greatest pitcher in the world, but he gives you some innings. You can cut down on the walks, so it's going to help. But they continue to throw Williams out there. They threw him out in the 6th inning yesterday, I believe it was, and he did not pitch well again. When can you count? Can you just cut the guy? I don't know. He's going to be a free agent. I guess they don't want to do that in case they want to try to sign him, or maybe something happens. But yeah, you've got to have some balls to play the Yankees right now. And the only problem is Zebby Matthews is a guy I really like, but he's been very inconsistent. He's been pretty good. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. He's a fly ball pitcher, 14% ground ball or 14th percentile ground ball rate. And this is not a very good stadium to play in if you are a fly ball pitcher. Comes in with a 5.17 ERA, but his expected ERA is 3.85. His whip is really high, 1.38. In fact, in his 2 seasons, it's a 1.51. He doesn't walk a lot of batters. Only 6% of the batters he walks. Strikeout rate 28.9, which gives him 22.9, which is excellent. But he's had some problems. Barrel rate 33%. Overall, I like him, but he's just like a lot of young pitchers. He's very inconsistent. Speaking of young pitchers, we get the same thing out of Will Warren here. One day he looks great, next day he looks terrible, and his StatCast page shows that. 4.44 ERA, 4.10 expected, 1.42 whip after a 1.9 whip in limited action last year. He's got great extension in the 82nd percentile, strikeout percent in the 76th, but average exit velocity 12th percentile, chase rate 10th, walk rate 16th, hard hit rate 16th. So we've got 2 pitchers here that can be hit. And the Yankees right now, the Yankees lineup is better than it has been for a while now that they've got, they got Stanton back, they've got Judge back now. And so the first thing I look at on this game would probably be the over. It opened 8.5, 20. Now it's at 9, under 20 at most places. If you can get that 8.5, 20, and there's, if you haven't got kicked out yet, ESPN Bet has 8.5 over 20. Circa here in Vegas, 8.5 over 20s, and Caesars 8.5, 25. So that would be the way I would look here. I still like the offenses here. Questions about the pitching staff, especially the Minnesota bullpen. They've been on borrowed time, I believe, but that's the way I would look at this one. And the Yankees got to turn it around if they're going to have any chance to make the playoffs. I think us and the fans of the show are rooting against that for the most part, because they made some pretty good bets on not to make the playoffs for the Yankees.
Yeah, I think you sort of nailed this game. I'm just going to try to play off a lot of the points you made. So first thing, City by the Bay says, how does Boone still have a job? Listen, I was sympathetic toward his situation. I would say maybe 2 years ago, because I do think there's a lot that goes into being the Yankees manager that maybe we don't really understand as just fans. And it's I think for the most part, he's done a job that sort of at least earned him the right to stay around for a little bit. That being said, I started to realize this last year watching. Now, remember, the Yankees are still our local team here in Central New York. So I end up watching a lot of Yankee games just because, right? Like they're always on. If I'm not at home and with all the games and I'm over at the in-laws house, like it's the easiest game to turn on. Last year they started making a lot of these mistakes, but last year's team was a lot better, right? That last year's team was so much better than this year's team. Last year's team had Juan Soto, and he was good Juan Soto, right? Like you really it's crazy how much better they were last year than this year, but it's like they got away with playing bad baseball last year because the caliber, the team was just so much better. They could overcome a stupid error, a base running mistake. They just overcame it with being the best, one of the best teams in the league. This year, they're just not that. And it also, they overcame, like they would get to the 8th and 9th inning and it was just nails. It was Luke Weaver. It was, they would just lock it down. No problem. This year hasn't been that. You talk about Devin Williams. You said this last week, Brian. They got to send him to the minors. Let him go back to the minors for like 3 weeks and just figure some stuff out. Because really, if you're the Yankees, you need Devin Williams back in like September, right? Like you can live life without him for like 3 weeks. You got to get him back and have him be productive in September. I'm not saying he's got to be your closer, but he's got to give you like a good inning in like the 6th or 7th inning. That is just another example of the Yankees going in the total wrong direction. On the other side, I love Zebby Matthews. So this is where watching baseball matters. Like, and listen, like I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but like I can't stand when I hear like the crowd that it's like, oh, like I don't even watch the games, or it's just like all, it's like, well, it's just the numbers. I mean, we have people that sell picks on the site that don't watch baseball games, and like I'll just call it out. Like that's crazy to me because there's so much more than just the numbers that goes into it. And I feel like Zebby Matthews is a perfect example of that. You see the numbers. Yeah, the numbers at the big league level are not great. But if you've been watching this guy, I've been watching this guy since last year. I watched him fly through the Twins minor league organization because all he could do was throw strikes. Guy didn't know how to throw a ball. And then he got to the big league level last year and sort of learned quickly that you can't just throw strikes in the big leagues, right? Like you can't just have all of your pitches be in the zone all of the time. This year, he's actually been much better at that, but he's battled some injuries. He's had to work around some injuries. He's had to work around having time off, shutting it down, and then sort of getting going again, which is a whole nother battle, right? Like that's just a whole nother sort of battle to have to do that. And that in the middle of the season, because he wasn't hurt coming into the season, he got hurt, had to come back. So now if I look at him like post All-Star break, where he's had some time to come back, Nationals, 6 innings of shutout ball, 7 strikeouts, no walks. That's obvious. No walks. The guy he's allergic to throwing balls. I mean, he literally throws everything in the zone. The Red Sox got to him a little bit. Well, the Red Sox are hotter than any team on the planet right now, or during that run, July 30th. It was like the start of the Red Sox hitting anything and everything. So I'll give him a pass there. Last time out, Tigers, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, one walk. So this is a guy where it's like you're not gonna get the full sort of rub by just looking at the numbers or having not seen him pitch. If you've seen this guy pitch, he's got a lot of plus stuff. There's a lot of reason to think that he could be pretty good. Mm-hmm. Will Warren, like he's got some upside, but again, I would almost argue he's been more inconsistent than Matthews, and he has less upside to be like a really, really good major league starter. I think he could hang around in this 5th starter role for a while, maybe on a different team. But let's be honest, if the Yankees were full strength, they're not having Will Warren as the 5th starter. So I like the Twins. I would have probably played this if I could get Twins plus 1.5 at a playable price. But for now, I like the Twins on the money line. So that's the play here. I don't know if that'll be like my parlay leg, but we're only going to have a 2-teamer today. So the price point is appealing for the parlay. But yeah, I really like the Twins.
I'll point out about Boone. The thing that really bothers me, and he got thrown out of game again yesterday, 5th time this season. How do you get thrown out of 5 games when you can't argue balls and strikes?
I know.
He whines too much. He's a crybaby. Sorry, the Boone family's had a lot of success in Major League Baseball, but nothing irritates me more than having that. And they got a veteran team. You don't need to fire up your team. If you've got a lot of young kids on the team, yes, you go out, you kick the bases, you throw, the whole Earl Weaver shit. But if you've got a veteran team and your manager is making a fool out of himself all the time out there, complaining about everything, that's a negative to me. I think the Yankees need to make a change.
All right, Thomas Bow, thanks for joining. I don't know if we've pulled one of your comments up before, so very much appreciate you interacting. As always, please like, subscribe, and Brian, I have to get this out real quick. I have a 5% play. I'm like 12-3 in my last 15 games, and if I don't promote the shit out of it, I'm going to get in trouble. I've already been told. So if you take away one thing from this show, it's that you should watch baseball. If you take away a second thing, it's that I have a 5% play tonight. Those are the two. You have to take those things away, and then anything else you pick up, that's great. That's bonus. But I gotta get that out there. It's a spot that I really do love, and who knows? We may or may not hit it on the show, but I'm not going to tell you if we do. So there you go. Keep firing games in the chat. I want to go to Thomas Bow here because this is example 2 of the Pirates front office has been working against them since the beginning of the year. They didn't just decide to like work against them at the trade deadline. Again, I don't want to go off on a tangent with this, but it's like a generational talent fell in your lap in Paul Skeens. You should be borrowing money from the Steelers if you have to. Be like, we got to get this is like our one chance. Like, we have to put anything we possibly can around this guy while he's still in Pittsburgh, because rest assured, when he's a free agent, he's not going to re-sign here because why would he? But yet they continue to do things that are not consistent with trying to win now, which in my opinion is crazy. That being said, since July 21st, Brian, they are 8-1. Let me just make sure I got this right. 10, 12. Looks like they're 12-7. That's not bad. 12-7 since July 21st, since that sweep of the Tigers. And even this weekend, I watched a lot of that series. They played good ball to split with a Reds team that very much needed probably to take 3 or 4 in that series. And the Pirates, I thought, played really, solid baseball for the most part this weekend. Lost. They won the first 2 games of the series. They lose 2-1 on Saturday. They even made a little bid to come back yesterday. They end up losing 14-8. Thomas says the Brewers are going to lose at some point. I mean, that you think they would, right? They just thought they were going to lose yesterday, and somehow they walk it off against the Mets. So they're red hot. My question to you is this the letdown spot? Is this where the Brewers maybe drop one? Because that's a big price if you like the Pirates.
This, to me, is the most interesting game on the card. I've got a couple lefties, Haney going against Quintana. Current line, Quintana is about $195, $2, and 8.5 to the total over, about 120. Yeah, Pittsburgh has been playing some pretty good baseball. They make mistakes. They're a younger team, but you have to think that things are looking up in Pittsburgh. If they could just get the staff or management to spend a little bit of money. They're still throwing out Andrew Haney. We all thought he would be traded over the break. He was not. 4.77 ERA, 5.42 expected, 1.27 WHIP. He's had some good starts this year, but overall, he's fringe major league pitcher. Andrew Haney, if you take a look at the StatCast page, his best thing he does is basically he's in the 63rd percentile in the walk rate, 7.4% walks, which is about 1 below the league average, and that's his best thing. Chase rate maybe 58%, about average or whatever. But so much blue on his StatCast page. Expected ERA, 8th percentile. Expected batting average, 6th. Fastball velocity, 5th. Whiff rate, 14th. Strikeout rate, 7th or 12th. Barrel rate, 17th. Hard hit rate, 20th. Ground ball rate, 22nd. He's not a very good pitcher. Now, he is a veteran. He's been around for 12 seasons. He's pitched 226 games in his career. These older guys know what they're doing, and he's going to be facing another older guy on today's card. But the other older guy in Jose Quintana is a much better pitcher. He's been around 14 seasons, 3.73 career ERA. This year, 3.57, 4.79 on the expected. But, if you take a look, and I've probably said this before, the last 4 years, he's outperformed his expected ERA. So that's not something to, go crazy about. But most of his stuff on the StatCast page is also in the blue. Fastball velocity, 6th percentile, whiff rate, 4th percentile. But he doesn't throw his four-seamer very often. He doesn't have a great four-seamer. He only throws it 11% of the time. He's mostly a sinker change guy, and he's had success. He knows how to win. He's got 111 wins in his career, and that's not bad, especially for a guy that is really just an afterthought. Nobody really wanted him, and he's back up in the majors. And now Milwaukee's starting to get some of their younger starters healthy again. And so who knows how long he's going to be in this rotation. But while he's in there, he's a guy I like to bet on. Now, the question you have to ask here is this an obvious letdown spot? Well, we saw the same thing when they swept the Dodgers after the All-Star break. They came back out and played very well after that. The way they won yesterday, you would have to think that they played the Mets. The Mets was a big deal. And they swept the Mets, winning some games they probably shouldn't have won. But that's because the Mets are a team of higher priced guys that just fundamentally they're not very good. They're in a nice pitcher's park. I like the lineup for the Mets. I like, the bullpen. They've corrected that a little bit. Mets are a really good team, but I'd just say they're a really good bunch of players, because as a team, Milwaukee plays better baseball than anybody out there in Major League Baseball this year. Yes, you're laying 2-1 on Quintana. You're not going to find many times in his career that he's been a 2-1 favorite. But I don't want any part of Haney. Haney, if you take a look at his starts going back, like his last 8 starts, he's only had one start where he's gone 5 innings. So I know TB is not here, and I know the line would be pretty high. But if you could find a Haney not to get the win, that seems pretty nice to me, because the way Milwaukee's hitting, I don't think he's going to last very long in this game, and they're going to have to go to the bullpen. So rather than laying the $2 on Milwaukee, I'd rather lay $4 that he doesn't get the win. But we'll have to see. Milwaukee's just playing with so much heart right now. They don't care. They're just going out. And now they got a big lead in the division. They don't care. They're playing great ball. I'm not fading them, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just be honest. I make my first pass through the games, and Pirates won and plus 1.5, staring me right in the face. It's the setup that I typically would go for, price point I typically would go for. But the problem is, I'm just not sure I want Andrew Haney here. There's I almost feel like a lot of the stuff. So I feel like if you bet the Pirates here, you're pretty much betting on the Brewers just having a letdown, right? I really think that's the main basis of your bet. And the reason I say that is the Brewers hit left-handed pitching. I mean, they're 8th in the league WRC plus against lefties. So you can't really make the case that the Brewers don't hit lefties, because they do. And Andrew Haney is not a very good left-handed pitcher. So again, right there, I know he's been able to navigate somehow we're in mid-August and he's still got a semi-respectable season resume. But I wouldn't classify him as even a good left-handed pitcher. I think serviceable for a team that's out of it is probably the best sort of way to describe Andrew Haney at this point. The other problem I have is, the Pirates, yes, they've won some games and they've generated some offense, but they don't hit left-handed pitching either. So even though Quintana is someone that I think might be trending in the maybe the slightly wrong direction right now, I just don't know if the Pirates is the team I want to sort of oppose him with, because they haven't really hit lefties all year. Now, what could change that for me? I'm going to keep an eye on what the Pirates are going to do with their roster today. Mondays are a day they tend to shuffle it up. They've got 3 guys in the minors right now that probably should be on the big league team. I don't understand it. It's very Twins-esque, where it's almost like I got in an argument on Pirates Twitter yesterday. I don't know why I'm arguing with Pirates fans on Twitter, but like Cam Devaney was the guy that you traded Adam Frazier for. He's 28 years old. He's never been in the big leagues, probably because he wasn't like a super highly touted draft pick. Okay. He was like a 15th, 16th rounder. I believe he went to Elon, and he's never gotten a chance in the big leagues. The reason he's never gotten a chance, or the reason he didn't get a chance this year, is he was in the Royals organization. He's a shortstop. So he's behind Bobby Witt. So it's like, where are you going to find room for him? The second the Pirates traded for him, I was like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer. He goes right to the big league team because he was having a great season for Omaha. And what do? They put him down at AAA. The guy is a 910 OPS at AAA this year. He's never gotten a chance in the big leagues. The Pirates are still running like James Triolo out, who's I think batting like 190. Okay. So it's like they literally can improve their team. And there's like Nick Solak's having a very good season at AAA as well. They could improve their team by just calling a couple guys up. Why they refuse to do it is things that keep me up at night, Brian. I just don't understand what we're doing, not having certain guys on the roster. So, that would make them better against right-handed pitching, against left-handed pitching. If you call up Devaney, maybe Solak, like there's guys that would make you better in your own organization against left-handed pitching. So I'm going to watch and see what the Pirates do today. I do lean their way plus 1.5. I think that's a nice number to get them at minus 115, but they need to like do a couple things. Maybe bring a fresh reliever or two up because they've got a couple good relievers down there as well. Again, doesn't make any sense. But I'm not just going to just say, oh, this is like the spot where the Brewers are due to play bad. And so let me bet the Pirates, even though I lean their way. Go ahead.
I've got two comments. First of all, I believe yesterday was the final deal with bringing up minor leaguers, the time that they can bring them up now. So if anybody's going to bring up minor leaguers, they can bring them up now, really, with no penalty. They can still be rookie eligible next year. But I want to get back to the Brewers. Excuse me. They came out of the All-Star break. They played the Dodgers. They swept the Dodgers 3-0. Then you would think, okay, it's a letdown. They're playing an American League team. That was Seattle. They shut them out 6-0 in that game. Then after that, they play a lesser team, Miami, before playing the Cubs. That's the big deal right now with the Brewers. They take 2 out of 3 out of the Cubs, and then they face Washington and Atlanta, two teams out of the playoff race, nothing to play for, and they swept them 6-0. Then they get the big deal with the Mets, the team that they may have to play in the playoffs if they get there. They sweep the Mets. Now they're playing Pittsburgh. Then they play Cincinnati and Chicago. So if there is a letdown, it will be in this series against Pittsburgh. But if they didn't let down before after sweeping the Dodgers, and they didn't let down before after taking 2 out of 3 from Chicago, why would you expect them to have a letdown here against this Pittsburgh team? Cincinnati's on deck, a team fighting for the playoffs, but then they play Chicago in a huge series. They've got 5 games against Chicago, August 18th through the 21st. That could be the season. If they don't have a letdown against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and then they could take 2 out of those 5 against Chicago, this will be your division champion. And so I think this team right now is not going to let down. I like Milwaukee in this game. Don't want to lay the 2-1. There's probably other ways to bet into it. I'll have to look at that. And, the one thing I like today is all the games are on the evening card. The first one's at 6:10 Eastern. So we got plenty of time to look at the lineups. We've got to look at who's going to be pitching. And if there's any moves because of that minor league situation, we'll see those today.
Funny comment from the comments on the YouTube show on Friday. And again, we read them all. So we really appreciate you guys jumping in the comments, getting in there, interacting with the show, because it helps the show tremendously. And it actually is like, it's fun to interact with you guys. Sometimes, I mean, there's some handicappers that watch this show putting some great stuff in those comments. But the funny one that I wanted to make sure I address on this show, someone's like, why do you call the show Total Bases? You never talk about props. And I was like, that is kind of funny. I came up with the name Total Bases because so here's the story real quick about why we call the show Total Bases. Because when I had the idea for the show, I thought it was just going to be me and Tokyo Brandon doing a show. And I was like, well, total bases is a baseball term. And if it's me and Tokyo, if it's my Tokyo Brandon and I for the English crowd, since that, because the English grammar crowd was here on Friday, Tokyo Brandon and I doing the show, we're probably going to talk about NPB, KBO. And so I was like, oh, total bases, we're going to talk about everything. But it was a funny comment because, we don't talk props really at all. And that's really just because I think all of us are more traditional. We've all been doing this a long time. Like, I started this. I mean, you and Tokyo Brandon and Brian have been at this much longer than I have. But I've really been doing this professionally in some settings since like 2010. And it was props really weren't like a huge thing back then in terms of like the availability of it. So I never really got into the prop stuff. However, I'm going to give you one today. Now, this is a total shot in the dark. I've heard nothing about this, but if the Pirates were to call up Cam Devaney today, and because it's Monday, and Brian just made a great point about it being like the time where they might be able to do it and not kill his rookie status. Let's just say Cam Devaney gets called up today and he's starting at shortstop. He has been raking left-handed pitching. He's been raking everything at the minor league level. Again, OPS is like 910. He'd have what I would consider a very favorable matchup against Quintana because he's a right-handed hitter against the lefty. I would scour for his props, which the books will have no idea how to price. They'll have no clue, and play them all every which way. He was like 3 for 4 on Saturday. He's locked in right now, and you will probably get prices on Cam Devaney props that are like just totally. Books have no clue. So there is my best bet for the Pirates game. If you see Cam Devaney in the lineup for any reason, bet him all the props over. Okay. Moving on.
One final comment. It's not about this game, but it's something you talked about. I had this conversation yesterday with the people at the concert I went with. When I was growing up, it was you and I. Now all the young kids say me and you, or me and Bob, or whatever. It's correct to say you and I. Is that right from an English?
I always think it's been a while since I was taking English and writing classes at Siena, but I think that is correct.
Yeah. If anybody, enter the comments if you. Yeah. If
the grammar police are watching. The grammar police are watching. So if you want to let us know for sure. All right. Let's move on. City by the Bay says Phillies plus 1.5 all day. I'm not a big Taiwan Walker guy, Brian, but it was jarring to see the Phillies as an underdog in this game. When I pulled everything up this morning, before I knew the number, I was not expecting to see the Phillies as like a plus 105, plus 110 dog. With that being said, are you trying to go against Andrew Abbott here? Or are you taking the plus? Are you taking the Reds? How are you looking at this one?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I know Walker by name has not been very good, but he's having a really good season for himself. Abbott going for Cincinnati. Abbott about a 120 favorite, 122 maybe, 9.5 on the total. I thought the same thing when I started this, and I started looking into it. Taiwan Walker comes in with a 3.53 ERA. Expects a little higher, 4.21, whip 1.3. He's does nothing outstanding. His struggles with the whiff rate, 8th percentile, strikeout rate, 18th percentile, fastball velocity, 19th percentile, but he only throws his four-seamer 10% of the time. So that's what I like. If you don't have a great four-seamer, you got to use it sparingly, and he does. His extension is not very good. He's 6'4". And he's in the 13th percentile. He must land straight up as opposed to fully extending towards the batter. I would think the Philadelphia would want to try to teach that a little bit better, but I think he could have a little bit better success with that. But I was looking at Abbott, and every time I'm looking to buy on Abbott, it's one of those games that he seems to pop up and struggle. 8-2 on the season. 2.34 ERA, 3.49 expected, 1.13 whip. His ground ball rate, and I've mentioned this many times, pitching in Cincinnati, great home run park, is only in the 7th percentile, and yet he seems to avoid these home runs. Fastball velocity only in the 22nd percentile, and he throws the fastball 47% of the time. Those two things would point to a guy you want to fade. But his hard hit rate against 92%, average exit velocity 82nd percent. He does something that keeps a lot of people off balance. And I've looked, there's a lot of guys I follow that really follow pitching. They're very good, and they try to break it down a little bit. And somebody the other day was mentioning some things because if you follow this, he should not be having the success he has. That said, he's a guy I normally would try to play against, but I went back and looked this year. The most earned runs he's allowed in any game is 4. Every time he has allowed 4 runs, he's come back the next game, either thrown a shutout twice or gave up 1 run once. So he's a guy that really puts it all together after a bad outing. So that takes me off of Philadelphia here. To me, he's clearly, the results are clearly showing he's the better pitcher. Cincinnati's not as good as Philadelphia is. But is this a letdown for Philadelphia? They're just coming off a big series themselves. I'm going to sit back and watch this one and try to learn a little bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of conflicting stuff for me in this game as I started to really dig into it. So City by the Bay, like I agree. Just at my first glance of this game, I was surprised the Phillies were an underdog. But as I sort of, and I've made it known, that's actually something I'll take the L on that, Brian. I thought Tawan Walker was going to be serving up batting practice this year in this fit, and he's actually, not only has he hung around in the Phillies rotation, he's actually been pretty solid. Like, all things considered, he has not had a bad season, and I was just sort of downright wrong on him to this point. Now, do I think that means he doesn't get tagged a little bit going forward? This is certainly a spot where it could happen. You've talked about this sort of ad nauseum on the show, like Great American Ballpark being very hitter friendly, long ball friendly. So it's like, this is probably not the best sort of setup for him to have to continue the success that he's had, the sub 4 ERA, like stuff like that. I could see him giving up a few runs, but he's been pretty good. Now, the things that sort of started to take me off the Phillies was one, bullpen got used up quite a bit this weekend. They won all 3 games in Texas, so probably not going to have. It's not that they won't have their best bullpen arms, but the bullpen is pretty tight. It's going to be tired again, and then again you go back to being in a park that is definitely hitter friendly, not super favorable for the Phillies. And then the other thing that sort of took me off the Phillies is the fact that their lineup is not optimal against left-handed pitching. And by all accounts, this is a very good left-handed pitcher. So yeah, did he not have his best stuff last time out against the Cubs? But he still went into the 7th inning. Only, he gave up 4 runs, gave up 7 hits, but he was an out. He was like a pitch away from getting through 7. So 6 2/3. In my opinion, that's that's a very, very, decent. That's a very, very good start against a solid opponent. So I don't really want the Phillies against Abbott because this is the type of pitcher that should be able to give this lineup some trouble. So again, I kind of don't really know what to do with this one because I don't really know how to make a case for the total. You have an inflated number, but I actually could see some runs because it's still the Phillies. And so if they don't come from the Reds bombing Walker or getting to the Phillies bullpen, like, is Abbott just going to totally wipe the Phillies out? Probably not, but it's a big number. So I don't have much to offer there other than just like a breakdown.
Yeah. I want to touch on a couple of things. You mentioned the lefty righties for Philadelphia. The lefty hitters, who will not likely play today, are Brandon Marsh, Max Kepler, Bryson Stott. The 3 guys who will likely take their place, Otto Kemp, Weston Wilson, and Harrison Bader. So the guys coming in are not great, but the guys they're replacing are not the greatest either, especially Stott, who's having a down season. He's a Vegas kid. I root for him, but he's not having that great of a season. And these are all guys that are in the bottom of the batting order. As for the bullpen, they are in major problems in the bullpen. Duran has pitched back-to-back games. Kerkering has pitched 2 out of 3. Matt Strahm has pitched 3 straight. Tanner Banks has pitched the last 2 days. It brought David Robertson back up to the majors. He'd been in AAA. They were letting him after they signed him. They were giving him some innings in the minors, but he is back and he hasn't pitched in the majors yet. And the other guys, Jordan Romano, Max Lazar, and Joe Ross will be available. And those are probably the guys you were going to see in the back end of this bullpen in this one. So if you do like Philadelphia, maybe the first 5 would be the better way to go.
All right, I'm scanning the chat. They're saying the call-up date is August 14th, but still, okay. if you were to see him in there, anyway, I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole, but I did see a couple of people, and the chat is very, very confident that it's you and I. The chat is very confident.
We have an intelligent chat compared to some of the
very confident that it's you and I, and that's what I thought as well. So. Yeah. Glad we cleared that up. All right, this one's popping off in the chat. Will says he loves the Red Sox here, and I see a lot of people bringing this game up. So I figured, and this is also kind of a big game. So let's make sure we hit this one. These two teams just played in Fenway like a week ago, or a couple, maybe 10 days ago, and it was a total wipeout. Red Sox just slapped the Astros around in that series. I believe it was one of the first series, Brian, where the Astros had their sort of new complement of players. I believe it was the series right after the trade deadline when they were sort of getting guys into the lineup, and they played terrible. They played absolutely terrible that whole weekend. I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar trying to play the Astros once that weekend, and it was a blowout loss. Since then, they've looked a little bit better. I'm not going to go as far as to say they are convincing me that they're like significantly better than they were pre-deadline. But let's give them we'll give credit where credit's due. They took 2 of 3 from the Marlins, and that was a Marlins team that was hotter than the sun going into that series. And then they took 2 of 3 from the Yankees, and both of those were on the road. So credit to the Astros, 4-2 to close out that road trip, a very long road trip because that road trip started at Fenway Park. So that was Fenway to Miami to Yankees, and now they're heading back home. No off day. Big game against the Red Sox, and they get welcomed by Garrett Crochet. So Astros, Red Sox, Crochet, Christian Javier, who's, I believe, did I see him rehabbing? I think he was coming back from injury because I feel like I watched him pitch in AAA a couple times. How are you seeing this one? And while you talk, I'm going to sort of pull his AAA numbers because I know I watched at least one of those starts. Red Sox, Astros.
Yeah, Crochet, a lefty, is about a 170 favorite here on the road to Houston. Javier, a righty, 7.5 to the under 15. To me, Crochet's been fantastic. No doubt about it. I can't say a bad thing about him. Other than this is awful high line when you consider the Houston Astros are this big of a home underdog with Christian Javier, which is a good pitcher. But as you mentioned, he's missed a lot of time. I don't know how long he's going to go here. I have not had a chance to, like I said, all these games are at night. So I haven't had a chance to see if he's on a pitch limit or what's going on with him. He's a guy that's always slid under the radar for Houston, but he's a very good pitcher. He's been terrific. In fact, let me see what his career numbers are. When you take a look at Javier, let's see, been in the league for 5 seasons now. He's got a 33-18 record, 3.59 ERA career, 1.14 WHIP. That's a pretty good pitcher to be getting this big number on. If he was to go, if I knew he would go 80 pitches, I would think there might be some value here on Houston. At this point, I don't know. The closer is going to be available tonight. King pitched the last 2 nights. He's a key in that bullpen, but the Astros have a very good bullpen, and for the most part, all but one guy should be available. It's a value play for me on Houston, but he takes some balls and stand in front of Crochet. And with a total of 7.5, they're telling me right now that they expect Houston to probably score 3 runs in this game. And if they do score 3 runs in this game, is that going to be enough to shut down Boston? If it is, then that's fine. But the under may be a different way to play this one. Pretty good, pretty level hitting situation in Houston. If you can pull the ball, Crawford boxes are big for home runs, but overall, it's like a neutral field. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it a little bit more. If I know Javier is going to play 80 pitches with pretty much everybody in the bullpen available, I may end up with Houston some way in this game. But I wouldn't fault anybody for wanting to back Crochet. Maybe playing Crochet runs under or something like that if you like that side. But I'm not going to lay 175 on the road here against the Houston Astros.
I just needed to jog my memory for a second. So I actually bet on Sugarland in Javier's first rehab start. The reason being I knew the books didn't know he was going to pitch that day. And I also knew that Sugarland was going to piggyback the regular starter who I liked behind him. And so now I remember what I saw in that game and my takeaway, well, from that game, and I caught a piece of one of his other starts, didn't have the command in really any of those AAA rehab starts. Now, that's not the end of the world. Like that's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean he's going to come out and get shelled tonight, but that was my takeaway from that was 9 2/3 innings over 3 AAA rehab starts, 10 strikeouts, which we like to see, but 10 walks. So he really was like kind of all over the place. Had some batters where, his dominant stuff really sort of shone through, and he got some strikeouts. And then he also sort of offset it with not being able to find the zone at time and walk some batters. So I don't have like a huge, sometimes I have pretty big takeaways from the rehab. I don't really know what to pull from that because I don't think it means he's just going to come out and walk 6 guys. But at the same time, it's a little concerning that he didn't really have one like sparkling sort of outing. That's concerning. Now, if you want to talk about pitch count and how deep I think he's going to go into this game, let's see. He threw, I just want to double check. So we got most recent start for him at Sugarland, 77 pitches. So I think that's typically a good, if they let him go 77 pitches in a rehab outing, I think you can say 75 to 80 is a realistic target for him in this game. So I think it's going to be his game until he gives him a reason to take him out. I think if he hits the 80 pitch mark, they'll probably look to go to the bullpen. So just if you're trying to handicap this game, that's what I think you can expect from Javier, 75 to 80 pitches. For me, Brian, I'm kind of like, I think if I had more faith in Javier, that I'd be looking at an Astros plus 1.5 here. I just don't know if I do, because it is a number that is quite inflated. So for me, more than likely going to sit this one out. And maybe we'll get a spot to play the Astros at a big price later in this series. But unfortunately, I think the big price is being dictated by Crochet on the mound here. So we may not. But I think I still have to lean Astros plus 1.5 if I absolutely had to get involved. But that's the beauty of it. We don't have to do anything. That's our edge. That's our edge as the bettors. We don't have to bet any of these games if we don't want to. So I'll probably pass here. All right, we still have 10 minutes of show left, and it's going to be a 2-teamer today. So we'll have a better chance of hitting the parlay since it's a 2-teamer. Would love to hit one of these. Brian Leonard, I'm going to throw it over to you before we go back to the chat. Do you have a game in mind that you want to target? Did we talk about something that might be your parlay leg yet? Because I'm kind of in the same boat where I don't know if I want to use something we talked about or something that might still come up. So I'm going to kind of defer to you here. If you want to bring up a game, go ahead.
We can take a look at let's take a look at Washington against Kansas City. Okay.
All right. Yeah. The chat has brought that one up. So that's
okay,
that's good. Let's go to that game.
We've got Savali making his second start since coming back from injury. His first start, he had some success on a lot of whiffs. He didn't throw a lot of pitches, but he had like 19 whiffs, which is great. Bailey Falter going for Kansas City. He's a lefty. Kansas City is about a 150 favorite here, and total of 8.5 to the over. 9 to the under. Savali's a guy who is really a guy I've been waiting for. He's only had, one start now, and he had one start in 2022, and he got hurt in that one. So it's been a long road, as Tom Petty would say. It's been a long, long road for Cade Savali, but I like him. He was highly rated in the past. He's 26 years old now, and it's been a shame that it's been this long since he's been able to get into the rotation because of injuries, but I like him. 0 ERA, expected ERA 0.94, expected whip 0.92. He was everything he's advertised in that first matchup. He throws 6 pitches, although the cutter and the slider are less than 10%. But his four-seamer is at 97.3. League average for a righty is 94.9. And he does throw that 31% of the time, slightly higher than the curve, which is 30%. Then he throws a sinker and a change. So he's got some pitches he could throw here. And obviously, nobody has seen him for a while from the opposition. And Bailey Falter, obviously, being playing for the teams he's played in the National League, but he's in the American League now. His extension is in the 96th percentile. Other than that, it's all blue on his StatCast page. Comes in with a 4.14 ERA, 4.82 expected ERA, whip 1.23, which isn't bad. But if his numbers aren't bad, but his StatCast page is terrible. Whiff percentage, 4th percentile. Strikeout rate, 5th percentile. Expected ERA, 18th. Expected batting average, 20th. Fastball velocity, 17th. His fastball velocity is about 1 mile an hour lower than league average, and yet he throws a four-seamer 44% of the time. That's not good. And that's one reason why I'm wanting to fade him here. I'm not a fan, obviously. I don't think anybody is of this Washington bullpen. So let's take a look at what we can get for Washington in the first half here. You can get Washington at basically either plus 100. So you can get them at plus 100. There's a couple 105s out there, but we'll go plus 100 on Savali against Falter in the first 5. And the total in that is 4.5 to the over. Washington with Savali, first 5, plus 100 will be my parlay piece.
Nats first 5 money line, even money is your parlay leg. Just to clarify for everyone, I'll read it at the end of the show as well. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I was, I kind of had Nats jotted down. This is a spot where if the Royals were really, really inflated, I would try to get like a Nats plus 1.5. As you guys know, that's my style. But not even a chance I could do it at the price. Nor will it come into price range where it is at right now. And it's not to say that I wouldn't like take a flyer on the Nats here at plus 130 for the game. I mean that's probably from a value standpoint, I think it's a reasonable play. But again, it's just, kind of what I look for. That being said, the reason I look toward the Nats is Cade Cavalli looked really good last time out. And this is a guy that, I believe he was a first rounder. I think he was a first rounder back in 2020, lost nearly 2 years to injury. And, he's got the big fastball like that. If it let's just say he didn't lose all that time to injury, right? Like he's the type of guy that would have been hyped up, right? Like let's say he doesn't lose the time and get hurt. He's the type of guy that like comes up with some hype because he was the 22nd overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft the year after the Nationals won the World Series. So back in 2020. But he ends up missing the majority of all of 2023, the majority of 2024. And so people forget about him. And now he sort of makes his MLB debut. I want to make sure. I'm sorry. His Major League Baseball debut was back in 2022. But he makes his return to the MLB last week. And it's goes relatively unnoticed. That's as good as I've seen him pitch. And I've got to see this guy probably 3 or 4 times in person because he's been in Rochester for a while now. And I actually saw him pitch Forgot. I think he can't. I think I saw him pitch against Syracuse earlier this year, actually out here. But the point is, he comes up, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. I think he got into the 5th inning. So it's not going to jump off the page from if you look, if this is where we go back to, if you don't watch the games, you're just looking at the box scores, not gonna jump off the page. But that was a very impressive 4 1/3, in my opinion. He was throwing hard. The A's hitters, which was, I mean, the A's have been kind of crushing the ball, especially right-handed pitching. Felt like they had no chance against him. So that right there was, just enough to make me think okay, this is a guy that could actually put it together at the big league level because, he's been in the minors for a while. I think you can't take what you saw at the minors or his minor league numbers at face value because a lot of it was just rehab, building the arm back up. So again, just based on that, now I don't love the Nats against left-handed pitching typically, but it's not like earlier in the year where they're trotting out 9 lefties. It's a more balanced lineup than it was earlier in the year. So for all those reasons, Brian, I think I got to agree with you here. I see some full game value on Nats as well. So I will co-sign your parlay leg with listen, if you're going to bet this game, I think you take a flyer on the Nationals, take them plus 130. I crushing loss for the Royals yesterday, by the way. They're going to have to get off the mat from that, and that's not easy to do when you're sort of a middling team like the Royals. Go ahead, Brian.
I want to talk about something. Somebody in the chat, Mike Walker, says, talk about the picks you all have for today. First of all, I don't know what my picks are yet. I don't put them out until a little bit later. I'm still working on it. Like I said, these are all on the night card. I'd rather win than get them up earlier and the company make a little bit more money, me make a little bit more money. I'm out there trying to win. So they are going to probably go up later. I want to check a little bit of lineups and who I think is going to play. Also, if we were to give you out the picks that we have, we wouldn't make any money. WagerTalk wouldn't make any money, and the show wouldn't exist. So I know what you're saying, but you want our best plays, but the company we work for does sell plays, and that's why we're doing this show. And they would fire me in no time if I give out my plays on this show all the time.
Kristen Hess, we appreciate that. Everyone hit the like button. It does help. And that's really, I mean, listen, we do this show 5 days a week. We're giving you an hour of it's probably more geared to people that are handicapping themselves. Like that's really what I think our goal when we did this, set out with this idea. We wanted to provide the real value. Well, we want to always provide value, but we sell our best bets. That's our job. So as always, I've got a play I absolutely love tonight. I can't talk about it on this show, or I can't tell you what it is on this show because then no one would buy it. And that's up at WagerTalk right now. I'm 12-3 in my last 15, and it's a 5%er. So if you're new to the show or the site, 5% plays are our max bet. That's the maximum rating we can give a play. And I've got one tonight. So that's over at the WagerTalk site as well. Brian, I'm sure he has stuff up. Do you have anything locked in yet or no?
I have nothing yet. Brandon's in the chat. Brandon's got some stuff up already.
He wasn't Tokyo Brandon. Driving. Tokyo Brandon is in the chat somewhere in central Japan. Jesse Schul was like, where's Tokyo? Well, he's not in Tokyo, which is why he's not here. I don't know where he is, but like I said, TB, I'd love to drive around Japan with you sometimes. I love driving. A lot of the times when I go to these basketball games, unless it's flying to the West Coast, I usually drive. I'll drive 15 hours. I don't care. It is. I just enjoy it. So I'd imagine that's an incredible drive that he's on right now. Just driving out into the Japan country. That is awesome. He'll be back tomorrow when he's on internet somewhere. So we'll have TV back tomorrow. I want to get the chat. We'll probably go a minute or two longer today. Let's get them one more game and then I'll lock in the parlay. We got the Tigers crowd here. And I want to bring this one up because I feel like I know this team, Brian. I said White Sox might go on a little losing streak. I saw the Sharps. The Sharps came in every day on the White Sox over the weekend. And I think even knocked one of those prices down to where you played back at the market and cashed with the Guardians. Did I see that correctly? Did you have a winner with the Guardians this weekend over the White Sox?
I had the Guardians yesterday or 2 days ago and a full play, and they won. I haven't had good luck with the Guardians, but I couldn't pass it up. But I had 2 plays yesterday. My lesser play was the Guardians yesterday, and they lost. I actually, to show you that we don't just complain about our losses, I had my top play yesterday was the Angels' first 5 team total over 1.5. They have 0 with 2 outs in the 5th inning. There was a walk, and then they get Shanuel out of anybody hit a home run. He hits one. I was like 1 strike away from losing. And so I pulled that at my ass, and I got that victory. And it's about time I got some good luck. So I'm very happy. Sure. And I fully admit it. When I get lucky, I got lucky in that one.
So I want to go to this game because this is a game, but this is a name that I don't think people have seen in a while. I was surprised to see Elvis Peguero getting a start tonight. I don't know if that's who's going to actually start, but I saw his name thrown around for bulk innings. So, that's have we gotten a starter announced for the White Sox yet?
I see the same thing as you do. Peguero's pitched.
Oh yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, he's pitched 6 games out of the bullpen this year, 7 total innings. So he could be just a 1 inning starter. He's gone 7 innings and 6 starts, or 6 games. So maybe you might get 2 innings out of him. But the last 3 years, he's been a bullpen guy. Won about 130 total innings in his 5 seasons, 139 total innings. Let me give you his career numbers: 4.12, expected ERA 4.79, WHIP 1.46. Really good extension, 94th percentile. It's a limit. He's only pitched 7 innings, so there's not a whole lot of value in his Statcast at this point. Chris Paddock was the guy going for Detroit. 4.91 ERA, 4.72 expected, 1.25 WHIP. He was the one that just recently played against the team that just traded him, and that was against the Twins. He looked pretty good. Comes in at 4.91 ERA, 4.72 expected, 1.25 WHIP. Great extension. Doesn't walk anybody, only 5.3 walks a game. His chase rate is very good, but everything else is in the blue. Hard hit rate, 15th percentile. Strikeout rate, 16th. Whiff, 16th. So we'll have to see. Let me take a quick look at the Chicago White Sox bullpen, because
I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do with their pitching now. It looks like it's going to be. Well, I was going to say, I want you to look at their bullpen and then jump back in. I just want to let you know that it is likely. It looks like we're going to have Peguero as an opener, because he's been a 1 inning guy at AAA all year in the Brewers organization, where he's done most of his work. Got grabbed by the White Sox, threw an inning last week against Syracuse, and now he's up. This looks like a true just opener 1 inning situation, and it's likely Tyler Alexander in bulk after him. So yeah, go ahead. I want you to finish what you were saying, and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah, Tyler Alexander did the same thing last Wednesday through 67 innings, or 67 pitches. Other than Jordan Leisure, who pitched the last 2 days, he probably won't be available. They brought Cam Boozer, name from the past. They brought him back up from AAA. They've had 4 guys pitch yesterday for him, but nobody threw over 20 pitches. I think they'll all be available in this one. So yeah, it'll be a bullpen game for them. And they didn't use the bullpen a whole lot against Cleveland because they weren't winning other than yesterday. So a lot of the guys are fresh in that regard. So their better bullpen arms will be out there.
And I will play on that. I'm going to put White Sox plus 1.5 in the parlay. It's minus 130. I think that's a good price to get the run to work with. And I'll play off of what you were just talking about as the reason why. I've talked about this a ton on this show. I like the way Venable has managed this team. I like that he sort of turned it into a looser, like more of like a developmental atmosphere where everyone plays. He's putting everyone on the roster in position to potentially contribute. They're all getting a chance. He's mixed up the bullpen arms really well. And now that they've called up some guys like Grant Taylor, there's even Leisure's been okay. Like what the lefty Iser is the lefty that gets in once in a while. Alexander's been okay. Like they've actually been, respectable. A lot of these relievers have done just fine the last month or so. And I think it really has to do with just like they're playing the way that so all these guys came up from Charlotte, basically. So if you look at this White Sox roster right now, it's very heavy AAA Charlotte players from earlier this year. And Venable's managing the same way they manage down at Charlotte, where it's like you pitch every couple days. It doesn't really matter who's in what spot. It's more about getting your work in. We're going to get everyone at bats. We're going to platoon and try to put guys in position to have some success because we're not that concerned with wins and losses. But what it's actually done has made them a better team, wins and loss wise, than they were the first 90 games where they were 30-60. So I love the way things are going for the White Sox right now. And I got to say, and I don't think our Tigers crew is going to disagree with this statement. This team has some issues right now. Like and I'm going to go back to that Mariners series going into the break. Okay. They kind of took the foot off the gas. It was going into the All-Star break. They had 5 guys going to the All-Star game, whatever. But it set the tone for like, this Tigers team is not that talented in relation to the other good teams in this league. They don't have the talent. Like the Tigers, if you look at where they are win-loss wise, they don't have the talent that the Dodgers do, or the Phillies do, or the Blue Jays do, or the choking over here, Brian, help me out. The Cubs, like even the Mets, right? They don't have that kind of talent. The way the Tigers racked up all those wins was playing really, really good baseball. And what have the Tigers not done since the All-Star break? They're just not playing like great, fundamentally sound ball anymore, where it's like the bullpen does their part and everyone does their part. And it's really turned into a team that's just looked very, very average. And now they're going on the road here, and you need them to win by more than 2 runs with a guy like Chris Paddock on the mound that the White Sox have seen a ton of because he came from their division and he's not that good in the first place. Yeah, let's do that. White Sox plus 1.5 is what I'm going to do for the parlay. And I'll go back
what
to
you want to point out? Steve Duke says Alexander was yesterday. He's mistaken. Sorry, Steve. He did not pitch yesterday. He did pitch on Wednesday.
Yeah, all the reports on Twitter are that it's going to be Peguero for an inning followed by Tyler Alexander. Not Jason Alexander, who's on the Astros. This is who's actually
Alexander. Pitched really well lately.
He had a good, yeah, he
did. I'm picking to go against him. He pitches well. You run into these things sometimes, but you got certain guys, and I used to work with a guy, and he'd say that team's on my list, and I'd say, you say that every day. You don't. After a month, you don't have any team you can bet on.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, I wanted, and the other thing too, I want to point out here, I know we're going over a few minutes. Tokyo Brandon is still firing out. He must get okay internet, Central Japan or phones, or actually, you know what? They probably have all better stuff than we do. It's like
that's actually a modern country, not like the United States.
He says we need more likes. So yeah, and we got over 1,000 live viewers. So went a little long today, but I think it's worthwhile conversation. Going back to last week, I said, I really wanted to find a spot to bet the White Sox. I really couldn't. I felt like they were sort of on the wrong trajectory last week. Well, they did get the win yesterday, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them play it with a little bit more life this week, especially being back home. And let's be honest, like what do they have to get fired up for at this point? Not much, but division leader comes to town. You're at home. I think that gets the juices flowing a little bit. So yeah, I'm interested in the White Sox here. And if this were to get bet down a little bit more, I might need to throw another play on the client card. But for now, it's going to be the parlay leg, which is locked in. It's a 2-teamer, Brian. We got White Sox plus 1.5 for the full game. And we've got Nationals. So that's my leg, White Sox plus 1.5 full game. And then we've got Nationals first 5, even money. 2-team parlay today, plus 254 odds. Give us the likes, subscribes. If you missed any of the live show, head on over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel and watch the replay. I have a 5% play up tonight that I love, and we did not talk about it, so I will say that. We didn't talk about it on the show.
I just want to let everybody know, make sure you grab that 5%. Brandon will be back tomorrow, as far as I know. I will be gone on Wednesday. I'll be somewhere where the Wi-Fi is just not going to be good enough. If you've complained about Trig going in and out on some of his stuff, I don't even want to try my Wi-Fi at this place. So I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll skip on Wednesday.
hopefully wherever you're going on Wednesday, you'll have some air conditioning though. Because I got to be honest, it has been a hot summer here in central New York, and I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not cut out for it. I need it to be 50 or 60 degrees every day. I'm just not cut out for the heat. I hate it. I can't wait for
one time every
snow.
day out here for the last week, and what a time to not have air conditioning.
All right, it was a great Monday show. We made it, just the two-man show. We're back with the 3-man weave tomorrow, if you will, and then we'll be 2-man again on Wednesday. We got a nice 2-teamer. Nats first 5 money line, White Sox full game plus 1.5. Appreciate over 1,000 of you tuning in on the live. Please head over and like, subscribe on the replay. If you missed anything, it's all there on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys back here 9 a.m. tomorrow. Take care.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wise Cracks. Bill Krackomberger, John Orlando, live from the beautiful Westgate Superbook. Wow, John, I'm feeling it in the air here. These contests here, I took a photo. It's up on the board there, kind of sideways. Super contest. Of course, the original here, 180 entries right now, 270,000 in the pool. The super contest, let's start that over again. The college contest is the one I'm involved in. I don't mean start the show over. I mean you start that with the one I'm interested in. 249 people in that one. That's something that's unusual. 7 picks against the spread. College football. Real excited about this one this year. So far, like I said, 249 entries. It's only $500. So I think that one's gonna. They're going to have more there than the super contest, which is $1,500 NFL.
You can enter that multiple times also?
Yep. Super contest gold, 12 entries in there. I think that's 5,000. The Survivor, 5,000. We expect to have a couple hundred people in the Survivor here. Unlike the Circle, which is 1,000, then they have the Grandissimo, which is 100,000. 11 people in that one so far, by the way. This one is 24 people right now. I expect it to go to close to 200, John Murray told us. So some really good contests here. Superbook, the original. Love this place. Love the sports book. Lots of proxies were a couple of proxies were sitting around today. So, John, I had to ask someone a question. I said, so tell me how this works. Like, I don't use a proxy because I live in town, but there are weeks I'll go out of town and I'll have to get a hold of a proxy. Last year, my buddy Steve, the proxy, he put them in for me. And this year, this Matty here was sitting here, and from footballcontest.com, and he gave me his card, and he also told me some stuff about that. I said, Matt, this is a giant, you're one of the big ones, one of the originals, 20 years.
20 years.
I mean, you have to be really good at what you're doing to make sure you're putting every pick in right.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a control freak. I don't know if I could trust my underlings, my people that work for me, to put all the picks in correctly. He said, we don't. It's me and Tony. Tony and I put all the picks in. We do it all. We had people to help sign us up. We have employees, but we put the picks in. So I like to hear that.
Yeah. Because you're right, one mistake in that, and it's blasted all over the internet.
And of course, I had to ask him about, do you do bulk discounts? Because, like, if you're doing 10 picks here, 10 at Circa, or, and he said, yes, we will do bulk discounts. Footballcontest.com, which all the proxies. My buddy Scott also does this. Football Vegas horse pools, he also does. So some great proxies out there. He's another one. Scott is just so focused, like super focused, can't be bothered because he's doing stuff like this. So some really good guys out there. I know I'm a little tougher on the football contest, these proxies at certain points. I'm a little bit tougher on them throughout the year, the end of the year, about the tipping situation, because I feel this. Listen, I love to tip. I love tipping, so I'm a tip guy. I'll tip. Of course, you win a big prize, $1 million, you're going to tip. But I like to do a full deal where, hey, you don't charge me $100 an entry or whatever it is. Just take 5%. You guys I got 95%. You have 5%. So maybe you can do a deal with them there too. I'm just giving a percentage out there.
Yeah.
That's something. So this week, our buddy Todd Dewey, the Las Vegas Review Journal, he did a great article on that. And I really liked the article. I said, I'm going to bring that up. John, I'm going to push it over to you right away. One of the viewers last week in the comments, you didn't read it.
I didn't.
Yeah, he wants to know why you wear these short T-shirts and try to sit up straight and pump your guns out or something. I was like, what's he talking about? Like,
it's a T-shirt.
Maybe you are wearing the T-shirts. Maybe I'm wrong.
Come on, this is. Wait,
I mean,
dude, am I still on camera if I stand up?
Of course, you're sucking it in now.
I'm not sucking it in.
Maybe you're right.
This is just a normal T-shirt. It's a normal.
You look good for a senior.
It's a large.
Yeah, no,
it's a large. What do you want?
I got you. The arm's a little tight. Is that a large?
The guns, Bill. Large. No?
I think it's a medium.
Is it? Well, no. Is it really medium? Oh, it's a large. Yeah. You had me.
So anyway, that brings me to one of my points in Atlantic City. Look at this. Atlantic City, they're having an outdoor gym overlooking the ocean. That's pretty cool. So this is the ocean's this way.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Wait,
Outdoor.
that's ocean? Or?
Yeah, no, that's the Showboat, which used to be a casino, which closed down now and is just a hotel. And I believe it's also some, the college had something to do with that for a while too. But the outdoor facility is located between Ocean Casino, which I love.
Yep.
Floor to ceiling windows.
Yep.
Great place. They cut down video poker and guys that win. Which casino doesn't really? And then Showboat. Right between them, that's where this is. Memberships for the gym at the boardwalk, $99 a month. And actually some discounts too. So that was pretty cool. The gym overlooking the beach and the ocean. You know me with gyms. I don't even speak to anyone named Jim. Okay, so let's go to the next story. So this is really an amazing story that I'm reading about. They're not going to override the mayor's support, so they're not going to Democrat. This is New York. New York is getting a casino. Well, sooner or later, I'm not going to say it's New York City. It'll be the outskirts, but where they want to put this particular one is the Bronx. Like,
I was literally going to say the Bronx.
I don't think
the Bronx
really needs a casino. I mean, they're already busting everybody out with lotteries and all the sports books there and
that's near like Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, the Bronx is big.
Okay.
The Bronx is a giant city. It's the Bronx is much bigger than Manhattan. Not as big as Brooklyn, but anyway, yeah, maybe it's the Bronx. But somewhere in New York's getting a casino.
I know you like animals.
Yeah.
Tell me you've been to the Bronx Zoo.
Been to the Bronx Zoo. My Aunt Dolores.
Oh, right.
My Aunt Dolores
Works
has been there over 50 years. My cousin Chris has been there, I think, almost 30 years. So
it's so good.
Yeah, they're. My cousin Chris has an unbelievable job. He's like the head of all 5 parks, like the zoo, the aquarium, all different things. He's the head of everything in the ticket department. Got a big position for himself. Might be the only kid in the whole family went to college.
Really?
But yeah, we couldn't afford college when we were growing up. We didn't grow up with the John Orlando fund of Tony Orlando. But anyway, a shout out to them. Love my my Bronx relatives and family. Anyway, I just think sooner or later, a sports book.
You would think.
I mean, a casino is probably going to come to Atlantic City. Proxies we talked about. Boy, this is this is crazy stuff, man. It doesn't hit the press a lot, but we talk about this kind of stuff here. So, a guy was threatening one of the casinos. By the way, Finger Lakes used to be when I was a kid. It was actually a bigger racetrack. Yeah. It's kind of a smaller racetrack. They still run a lot of horse race maneuvering going on.
I didn't know that was in New York until just now.
Yeah, it's upstate New York, Finger Lakes. So now there's a casino there. This guy was at the bar. He's drinking, and they asked him to leave the bar. They probably, the casino probably served them too much drinks, alcohol. Which casino doesn't? It's hard to police. It's hard to police people how much they're having to drink. Bartenders running around, and I like to go after bartenders sometimes.
Yeah.
But the bartender's running around serving drinks. How can he tell? Oh, are you sober? You're just giving him $10. Here's your drink. It's not his fault either. I mean, but so. This guy threatened to blow up the casino with a bomb.
I mean,
very bad.
Not smart.
You can't do that.
No.
You can't do
so what happened?
They threw him out, but he looks like he might have got
But feds
arrested.
definitely came and talked to him. Yeah, you can't.
John, this is something that always scares me after the shooting at Mandalay Bay.
Yeah.
It always scares me about a shooting. There's no metal detectors in the casino. There's none. If
know.
not, someone in the immediate area might not be allowed in. just saying.
But I don't think they can do it.
What do you mean?
If this was like an airport coming in, I think it would really hurt.
Really?
I do.
So
I don't know what the solution is.
This is about up in Reno. a shooter opened up fire right outside the casino, killed 3 people,
terrible.
injured several others.
When did this happen?
Last week.
Oh, wow.
A week ago.
I didn't hear it.
Opened fire outside the largest casino in Reno, by the way. But the suspect was he was shot and arrested.
He lived?
Yeah, he lives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just it really.
terrible.
I don't know how you police it. I don't know what's right or wrong. I'll tell you right now. You know, you get scared a little bit. You know, something never came out about that shooting at Mandalay Bay. That guy was a big gambler. Randy, who was on our show, is going to be on next week with us. You know, Randy knew that guy. He was a big video poker player.
Really?
Yes, he's seen him playing video poker. He said, I seen that guy playing high-limit video poker all the time. So he was a giant player. He got free rooms, suites, everything he got. You know, I just hope a lot of the casinos, I'm not going to say ramp up, because I really believe that if you give $20 to a bell guy, they're bringing up anything. They don't search the bags.
No, of course not.
I hate to say that, but we hope something like this doesn't happen in a casino. It happened at one of the casinos on Boulder Highway last year. Those security guards are armed with guns.
Yeah.
A lot of the security guards, you know, along the strip and stuff are not. Local casinos, though, I noticed they got their. Yeah.
I see Metro officers in a lot
every
of casinos. All the time.
casino.
Aria,
and people don't know
Encore.
that. Every casino does have plain clothes, even regular clothes, police in them. The casinos pay the officers for that.
And sometimes I see them all geared up too.
And they are geared up too. So some are, but I just hope that they could somehow police this more. I hope nothing ever happens again like this in Vegas. That just totally terrible. You know, I watched something on. I don't have time to watch TV. My wife was watching something in the background on one of the platforms. It might have been Amazon Prime, about the shooting that happened in Moscow, Idaho. The 4 kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you see that guy in court?
Oh.
What a dirtbag.
Oh,
you see
what a
that?
dirtbag.
And the sister.
I had to sit down and watch it. Oh, what's this? And I remember that. It affected me a little bit. This is one of the safest areas in the country.
Yeah.
And to see this happen.
The sister got to give her thoughts to him. Did you see that? She was great.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It was really great. Terrible thing.
So anyway, that was another subject matter that I just said, you know, just figured I'd talk about.
Yeah.
John, let's go over real quick. You know, I breeze over this, but let's do it real quick anyway. Heritage, 100% reload bonus, $500 money back guaranteed. Now they're doing on deposits.
Bill, I know they're a sponsor. How are they in business doing this?
I mean, well, to be honest with you, John, you know, people think they win. If you bet, just like you think you win in the UFC, we're just talking.
That's a bad example, but yeah, I got you.
People just think they win. So
right.
They just, you know, I know a guy that owned one of the biggest sports books in the world.
Yeah.
And you know what he said? He's actually a billionaire. And he's owned many companies, many businesses. You could spend 86%, he said, of all the money that's sent to me. You know, I asked him this question twice. One time he said 85. He goes, it's a little more now. So in other words, if you deposit with a sports book, you could just, let's say you get 100,000 in deposits. Well,
you could spend 86%
don't worry about putting
of
it
it
in the bank just in case they get the 100,000 back. You can spend 86,000 of it. They're not getting it back. So 86% of the money gets to stay with them. That's
crazy.
The reason why. So you're looking at probably closer to 90%.
Right.
Some of the books. This particular book here, though, Heritage, been around 30 years. It just, like it says here, 100% kickoff and reload bonus. Free contests, free birthday parlays, lots of free plays. HeritageSports.eu. Like I said, reduced juice. That's another thing. That's why I don't understand the bonus, because the bonus is the reduced juice. That's what you'd think. It's 108 juice, so instead of 110. So anyway, Heritage Sports, been around a long, long time. Wanted to throw them in there. On to our next subject matter, which is going to be, listen, I know for a fact, years ago, there were some high-level hockey players that were in the casinos playing and firing big amounts of money and didn't want to pay back their markers. So I know that about hockey players. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling up, and you could just Google. I Googled the hockey players who have hit the jackpot. Stories on NHL, that's the name of this article. So the name I'm talking about is Yager. So I'm not really a big hockey guy, but I know one thing. Jaromir Jagr, am I saying the name right? Yager, right? Yager, you know the name? He has made, might have made $100 million in his hockey career. He made a lot of money.
Yep.
However, loved to gamble. So he's played a lot. I'm reading here. He's played for some of the biggest teams. Pittsburgh, Washington Rangers, Flyers, and he had some problems in the past, and he had some casinos going after him. Now recently, though.
Welcome to WagerTalk TV. Kelly Stewart here with.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wise Cracks. Bill Krackomberger.
Like
The car could be funny.
So it takes you down to the Trop and back?
For free. I put it on my
You can go
Twitter.
both directions?
I put it on my Twitter a couple weeks ago. It actually does take you back and forth. I thought that was the cool. I said, you know what? They're doing free rides? I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So someone on Twitter texted me. Well, he added me to a tweet, and he's like, hey, there's this big article about the military bases,
right.
How these military bases have casinos now, like slot machines. And I'm like, what? Slot machines? I am devastated by this for them. So you could just look, this is my buddy, sent me a text on Twitter, one of my guys, the Wired article showing about Wired shows the big money and high cost of U.S. military bases on base machines.
That's crazy.
And I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean on base military? Then there's a whole story. This guy came forward, one of the guys in the service, and he's like, Dave Yeager stumbled across these shiny casino slot machines in Seoul, South Korea on the military base. U.S. Army bases all around have these, and now he feels so lost because he's broke. He's lost his life savings.
This should be criminal.
You know, he said he cannot believe he went to the next base on assignment and there were slot machines there. I almost don't believe.
This is crazy.
Playing military-run casino games. They drained his life savings. He started selling his stuff, even stole from his unit. I mean,
come on.
Yeah, he didn't let anyone know what's going on. And, you know, not everyone who plays these slots struggle like Yeager does. I'm not trying to say, but all I'm saying is, this is
these
the
guys got
veterans.
enough to worry
these
about.
These guys got enough. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You know, they're more likely to struggle from gambling disorders than civilians. So it's for civilians too, but it's a lot about the people who are in the service here. Service members also are more hesitant to seek help than civilians and stuff out of fear of losing their rank, security clearance, or even being dishonorably discharged.
Yeah.
I didn't know this went on. I did not know all this stuff went on. How about the money they're bringing in? So they're saying they're reinvesting the money back in the military bases and military programs, the Marine Corps. Yeah, give it a break. $64 million in revenue in 2023.
This is crazy.
Oh, it's crazy, man. I'm so pissed off about it. I really am. So I didn't know this was going on. I mean,
only
they want to bust
Korea,
out every
or it's
living
on...
human in these towns, and now you want to take from our military that are defending our country in other countries. Oh,
wow, man.
So mad about that.
Yeah, that's
I really did it. The guy pointed that out on Twitter to me. I just, let's get into the next subject matter. Actually, my palm's sweating. I'm always saying, you know, thank you for your service. Thank you for the, I see Vietnam hats, Iraq, and you know these guys are fighting for us to live here free, and they're facing these kind of things. All 50 states, John, all 50 state attorney generals call on the Justice Department to combat offshore casinos.
Really?
Let me just tell you. So they're offshore casinos and sports books. This is casinos, though. So this
casinos,
is double.
not
this is
the sports books.
Yeah, this is two-sided, though.
Okay.
So of course they're doing it because their tax money that they're getting is from the DraftKings, FanDuels, and MGMs, Hiltons of the world.
Yep.
Westgate, not Westgate. Sorry. This is the casinos. So I'm going to go back to those 7 states that are legal for the casinos that have those big companies, though, the DraftKings and FanDuels of the world. So, of course, they're in a letter from the National Association of Attorneys Generals by all 50 states. Of course, they're trying to go after those. What about the ones that are on the legal sites here in the country that are killing people and closet gambling? And
yeah,
because I'll tell you what, When the games are over, the games behind us, the games, football, basketball, baseball, there's nothing else to bet on. What do you think people are doing? The human condition, we're at nighttime, God, I lost that Monday Night Football game. I was trying to get even from the Sunday game, or the Sunday night game. Now Monday, trying to get even, nothing left. Let's start firing a little blackjack. We got to get our money back.
Right.
So we'll bet a lot and just double up until I get. That is the crack cocaine of gambling.
Right.
It's the next opioid epidemic. It really is. Online casino gambling is so bad, so bad.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I'm going to say it's offshore or onshore. And by the way, I don't even like. Someone said something about my comment last week about playing about that blackjack in the games that are being videotaped, the live games of the blackjack dealers.
Yep.
And thank you, because you could be right. I say I don't play it. I've never played it. He's like, I don't know, Bill Crack. They're cutting the deck in half already, so they're not even dealing the full deck. So you're never going to get to that positive count. Maybe on an 8-deck shoe, you'll get a little positive, but nothing to the point where it's going to let them lose money in the end. You know.
Right.
So I didn't realize that. Of course, they're going to use a defensive mechanism. I'm surprised I didn't think about that before I did it. But anyway, I'll be blunt. I don't know if I even trust those online casinos. Is it taken? Are the bets being placed in at your home, cyberspace, Costa Rica, Antigua, or even the casinos back in New Jersey when they're playing with the legal ones? I don't really want to play anything virtual, where it's policed by who?
Right.
There's no one policing it offshore, and the gaming departments that police it here, I don't know if they have the proper guys, IT guys, to even go in and say, is this being done properly, and are you really using all the tens in the deck, whatever it may be,
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, that's just a subject that I thought was pretty interesting. I was just like kind of blown away. The military thing really blew. The military addictions.
It's crazy.
This was an interesting article. The Las Vegas casinos are not connecting with the young bettors. So I said, wait, what are you talking about? I got to tell you, this guy who wrote this article, this is a conservative activist. I never heard of him, Robbie Starbuck. He said Las Vegas casinos may have a problem with younger demographics. When people come in, I think the 30 crowd, 28, 27, they like to just come in, they want to buy their drinks and buy their rooms. I don't think they really care about gambling too much. Now, he's saying that the casinos are not connecting with it by having letting them bet online more, be more interactive with an online app compared to, they would rather bet online on their phone in the palm of their hand than live in a casino setting, maybe for the fear of being intimidated or whatever it may be. I don't think the people that come in really care too much under 30
there's
about
two
that.
different food
They
groups.
want to drink, they want to have a good time, and they want to gamble. Maybe they'll gamble too much after they drink and stuff. But I just thought it was an interesting article. But sometimes these, like this guy, this conservative commentator, Starbuck, I don't know who he is, like I said, they probably don't gamble. So they probably don't really have the pulse of the casino. But it is an interesting subject. I just wanted to say that younger crowd does gamble, does come in with the non-gaming stuff. And they come in and drink.
Go to the clubs.
They come in and drink. They have a good time. They're not doing that. Let's go to the wager wire segment.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. It's $100 to win $55.35, just a 2-leg parlay, which is up on WagerWire.com, WagerWire app. 100 to win $56.35, which is, like I said, $55.35 profit. So he's already won the first leg, SGA, to win the NBA Finals MVP. That was only plus 145. The other leg is San Diego to win the World Series. Now, of course, John's going to say, whoa, no way they can win. No way. Now, so they can't beat the Dodgers in the playoffs?
No. When have they ever? No, absolutely not. And even if they beat the Dodgers in the playoffs, no, absolutely not. They don't have it.
You might have a shot at the future on San Diego.
No. If you're going to bet on any other team other than the Dodgers.
All right, so he bet
$188
to win the $5,600. And right now he has a $252 profit with the buyout there. That's
Take
John's
that
heart.
money.
That's John's heart. That's John's
Reinvest it. No, come on. The Padres are not winning the World Series.
Well,
Crazy
with
talk.
the buyout from the sports book will be a lot less.
How much?
So, it'd be, I'm going to guess it's probably like $50 or
Take
$75.
it. Something's better than nothing.
But you could take 252 on, or not 252. You could take 170 on about 170
on WagerWire.
Yeah, on WagerWire.
Yeah, I would take that all day.
So that's interesting, though. We don't see a lot of two-leg parlays, though. So.
Hey, speaking of which, I'll be on national TV on Friday night.
Wow!
Bill,
You're finally coming clean on the Gamblers Anonymous
for
segment?
about 3. Yeah, Dateline. No, for about 3 hours. National TV.
Oh, all right. For doing what are you doing?
I'm going to the Dodger game, playing the Blue Jays. And Mary Hart was nice enough.
I thought you were doing an interview.
And Bert
Mary
Sugarman.
Hart, who has great seats behind the dugout. So not behind the dugout.
Behind the home plate, front row.
Right, front row.
Dugout club, yeah.
Dugout club. Yeah. So
So
she has
there you go.
great seats. So
National TV.
John will be there, he's saying. Good deal. What else, John?
Yeah, I'm going to wear a tight T-shirt, too, just to piss off
the guy that said
Mr.
something.
YouTube man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John, let me ask you, what's going on in the what about the senior poker tournament I said I put
We're
in?
going to do it.
Are you going to be at the Dodger game
end
instead?
of the month. No. That's a little later in the month. August, whatever the dates were.
So you're going to this other game this week?
This Friday.
Friday.
But I do want to mention, this Saturday,
right?
Big UFC fight. Sadly, I won't be in town. I'll be in L.A. Right. But my friend Ode Osborne is playing, and I have, let's just call him a live dog.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Ode is plus 390. He's stepping in on short notice to fight a ranked fighter.
Wow.
He's fighting Steve Urseg.
Okay.
Steve is minus 590. Ode's plus
4.25.
Plus
here.
4.25 if you're at where is that?
A lot of money coming in against them.
BetMGM plus 4.25. Live dog, short notice. But here's why I like that he's a live dog. He's got phenomenal stand-up. He's got a lot of heart. This could be a life-changing fight. That's what these odds makers don't take into consideration. They just look at the matchups. This is the first time he's been a co-main event. First time he's fighting a ranked fighter. If he wins this fight, it could be career-changing. I'm just saying, it's worth $100, Bill. Come on, $100? No.
No.
Come on.
No, but it's. If you
it's gonna be fun to clip this up for the "I told you so" video.
Yeah.
Let's go, Ode.
I hope he does win. I hope he does win. Cause I root for anyone.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
One thing about the UFC guys, my God, they're so friendly.
Yeah,
so nice.
Especially this one.
Every single UFC guy I met in my life has been unbelievable.
He goes in his spare time for no money. He talks to kids at school of all ages. In school, gives them pep talks, motivational. Right. Really good guy. I hope he wins.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, John, I get like bonus money from casinos, and I get like a bonus. I was playing a bonus over at the South Point the other day with my buddies, and I was playing for a reason. And my one buddy said, I was up $500 right away. He's like, "What are you doing?"
He says, "Quit."
Just quit, just like you would say, right? You
no.
don't know any better. It's normal to say that. Hey, you're up money. But the reason why you don't quit, if you don't want to keep on getting that weekly money, and you can't. You have to give them a level of play.
Right.
Or else they're not going to give you that bonus offer next week.
Right.
Or that whatever you're playing for.
Right.
They have gift cards there, Walmart gift cards twice a year, whatever it may be. But I can't believe how many people I'm friends with that have been around me and tell me to quit. You got to quit. No, you have to establish a certain level.
Let me ask you this.
Players are here. Wow.
If it's also, there are certain days, especially in the local casinos, where they do like 5 times the points, 3 times the points. Does that ever influence you playing more as well, even if you're up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. If there's a bonus, I'm only going in under a bonus or something like that.
Right.
So, it's just funny. You see that top comment, right? I was thinking about someone said it the other day. Someone said these guys that talk shit behind anonymity are rotting from the inside out with hatred.
So
I was like,
good.
I never heard that saying
It's
before.
so true.
By the way, next week, so any of them could show up. We're going to be downtown. I hope JH knows. Next week we're doing our podcast from Bet Bash next week.
Is that next
Wednesday?
week? Okay, early in the morning, right? Yeah. No, I'm here.
California.
I'm excited. That's 8:30 in the morning, or though? No?
It's going to be the same time. It's going to be.
Okay.
Is it 1 to 2 p.m. next week, John?
Oh, okay.
1 to 2 p.m. It's nice to know that John's all pepped up for Bet Bash.
Yeah.
1 to 2 p.m. next week live at Westgate. doing our
at
podcast.
Westgate?
I said Westgate. Circa.
Circa, right?
I'm trying to
Okay.
always give Westgate credit.
Yeah,
I admit it. I'm
Circa.
always trying to do
I'm
that.
excited. I like
We're going to
that.
be there next week. So, John, this college football.
Yeah.
I really think that there's nothing that I've ever seen in my life where an originator will bet something +1 and then go -4 and say play it again, and then now it's up to 6.5. So I've never seen something like that in my life. If you miss the +1 or even the pick 'em during the regular season, it's not a bet no more. The originators, the two originators I know, are saying no. We're not only going to play a +1. More information came out. Lay the 4. Wow. Bill Krackomberger has a tough time punching that. But I realize now at the 7. -4 and +7, not that I play middles, is worth such a super duper max bet both ways because they're lower totals, more likely to land. I've never seen nothing like that in my life.
Yeah.
This preseason football, wow. So that gives a shout out to WagerTalk, though. Come visit me over there. We got some really good stuff. Listen, I seen a survey, number one reason why young people, I should have talked about, come to Vegas, and I was surprised. Young people actually know when you're 21, like my niece is going to turn 21 September. Uncle Billy, I'm coming to Vegas. They call me UB. I'm coming to Vegas, UB. And I was like, all right. Because now I can drink for free. Like, they don't realize that drinking for free, you really don't drink for free. You have to, there's ways around to get drink tickets and stuff, but
they think you just
come
in and they just hand you a pina colada.
But the idea is just drinking in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
I guess drinking for, you're 21 now, so you can drink. So I thought it was kind of funny. But that's the number one reason I've seen this survey, these pools they do. And I was like, wow. So I didn't even think people come here to drink. So they come here to drink, hang out. At least they get a hotel room. They don't, drink and drive. Drinking and driving is a real bad offense here in Nevada.
Yeah.
So be careful anywhere, not just Nevada.
Maybe we need a top 5 places to get a free drink video because
I am doing a top
the pool keeps giving. The free pool video, 1.5 million this morning.
1.6.
No, really?
No, 1.6. Yeah. I only know because
and
Johnny, one of our main guys, sent me
42,000 people shared the video. This is so crazy to me.
1.6 million top 5.
I'll be damned.
Yeah,
Look at that.
pretty cool.
Wow.
But no, they're that's Vegas pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do one. We're actually gonna do one.
I like it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week on Wisecracks. Thanks for joining in.
5 free Major League Baseball plays for Monday, August 11th. Some appetizing underdogs on the docket, to say the least. Stay tuned for which ones I like as I am going through today's Power 5. Do me a favor, though. Anytime you agree, smash that like button. We're going to start in Milwaukee, where the red-hot Brewers continue to roll. They'll be hosting the last-place Pirates tonight at 7:40 Eastern. The Brew Crew have won 9 in a row and just broke my heart on Sunday, rallying from an early 5-0 deficit to beat the Mets 7-6 in a walk-off fashion. All 3 games of that series saw the Brewers fall behind early. They have the best record and run differential in the sport right now. But guess what? I'll take the +1.5 with the Pirates here. Surprise, surprise. Pirates have a winning record since the All-Star break, even after back-to-back losses Saturday and Sunday. They're also the team that has played the most one-run games in all of baseball, 47 to be exact. Win or lose, if this ends up being another one-run game, we're cool with it. Doesn't matter if they win or lose, as long as it's one run. The game's decided by one run. 3 of Milwaukee's last 4 wins have come by exactly one run. Remember, they score about 1.5 per game less at home than on the road. They're starting the starting pitching matchup on Monday. Haney for Pittsburgh, Quintana for the Brewers. I have that basically rated as a wash. Haney has, though, allowed fewer runs over his last 3 starts than has Quintana. So take the +1.5 with Pittsburgh there. Number 2, Nationals Royals, also a 7:40 Eastern start. Big edge offensively here for the Nats, as mentioned again on yesterday's show. The Nats are a top 10 offense on the road in terms of runs per game. They scored 8 runs on Sunday in San Francisco, where we had to settle for a push with the over because the Giants didn't score at all. Decent chance the Royals won't score many runs tonight either, though, because not only is KC dead last in all of MLB when it comes to runs per game at home. Just 3.2 runs per game they average at Kauffman Stadium. But they'll be facing Cade Cavalli, who threw 4 2/3 shutout innings in his return to the big leagues last week. Nice story there. KC is also coming off a brutal extra innings loss in Minnesota on Sunday. Not a Bailey Falter guy either. The left-hander allowed 7 runs in his Royals debut last week. So grab the Nationals as underdogs. Nice price, I think, there on the money line. Number 3, let's talk here about the Diamondbacks and Rangers. Those of you with Amazon Prime can watch this game for free on that streaming service. The Rangers coming off a bad weekend. They got swept here at home by the Phillies, really put a dent in their wild card hopes. Now, Nathan Eovaldi's going to start Monday's series opener for the home team. Over his last 6 starts, not only are the Rangers a perfect 6-0, but Eovaldi has allowed just 2 runs, just 2, in 38 2/3 innings pitched. But Arizona comes in having won 6 of 8 overall. They swept Colorado over the weekend. I know it's Colorado, so that doesn't mean much. Nevertheless, D-backs playing well, and Ryan Nelson gets the start tonight. He's been really good. Every bit as good as Eovaldi, quite frankly, as of late. Over his last 10 starts, Nelson has allowed 2 runs or fewer 9 times. So he's in great form. Remember, the Rangers just 28th in scoring at home. I'll call for the upset here. D-backs money line. Number 4, Red Sox and Astros, 8:10 Eastern. Red Sox swept the Astros in Boston to start the month. That was part of a 7-game win streak for the club. But Sox, they've now dropped 3 of their last 4 games. Here on the show yesterday, I said to bet against them in the first 5 innings versus San Diego. That proved to be correct. Tonight, Sox have their best starter, Garrett Crochet, going. Team is 6-0 in Crochet's last 6 starts. Nevertheless, I don't think the Sox should be this big of a favorite in Houston, where the Astros are 35-24 on the season. In fact, Sox are such big favorites tonight that we can grab the Astros plus 1.5 at a pretty cheap price, around minus 120. Rarely does that happen. Houston did just do Boston a favor by winning 2 of 3 at Yankee Stadium over the weekend. Astros run line is the play here. All right. After kind of going contrarian on you for the first 4 plays, I'll tell you to do the obvious here in Dodgers-Angels, and that's bet the Dodgers. This is actually a revenge spot for the Dodgers. They were swept by the Angels at home back in May. Okay, you can argue it was back in May. Do they really remember that? I think they do. I think they remember getting swept by their crosstown rival, embarrassing, and the Dodgers are in a pennant chase right now. They're going to want to win here. Yamamoto starting tonight. He tossed 5 2/3 shutout innings his last time out. Meanwhile, for the Angels, Soriano allowed 7 runs in his last start. If you're cool laying the big price, I say do it here. Again, I have no clue how the Angels have been able to kind of stay within striking distance of 500 most of the year. They are one of the top home run hitting teams in baseball, but I just think the Dodgers a lot better, and I am sure you agree. All right, recap time here on the Power 5. Let's go through the 5 plays one more time. Number 1, we like the Pirates plus 1.5 on the run line against the Brewers. How many of you are willing to do that? I'd be interested to hear. Number 2, Nationals money line plus 130 against the Royals. Number 3, Diamondbacks, another underdog, another nice fat plus price here. We're going to take them against the Rangers. Number 4, Astros get the 1.5 head start on the run line against the Red Sox. It's not often. You only have to lay minus 120 to get plus 1.5 with the Astros at home. And then we'll take a bigger favorite here with our last one, Dodgers against the Angels, as the NL West leaders look for revenge. Go ahead and comment down below with your thoughts on those plays. If there is another game you want some intel on, go ahead, ask away. If I see the question in time, I'll be more than happy to answer. Or if you simply want to let us know what you'll be betting on Monday, feel free to share that down below as well. Then head on over to wt.buzz/BP. Click the link in the description below and take advantage of this special offer. As you can see on your screen, the special offer ends tomorrow. You can get 30 days worth of plays for $199. That's every pick I release for the next month, not just Major League Baseball, but the start of European soccer and the start of college football as well. I believe that will actually also cover you for week 1 of the NFL season. I should be mentioning that too. Week 1 of the NFL season right around the corner. I understand, guys, that over the last 3 days, we've had a bit of a downturn. I own it. Always honest with you. But again, We are up well over 50 units. Since May 24th, I have not had a losing record in any month this year during 2025. So I bring that up to say, let's buy low on me. I think it's going to be a big week here as we bounce back from what was a rough 3 days. I mentioned the play yesterday earlier. Our only play was a 4% best bet on the Mets. You have a 5-0 lead early. Guys, you got to I know the Brewers have been hot and the Mets have not been, but the Mets had to close that out. I really, really liked that play. And nevertheless, it was a loser, 7-6. We lost in walk-off fashion, but I think we get it back today. And by the way, yes, week 1 of the NFL regular season is September 4th. So that you will be covered right now if you get this 30-day package, the first week of NFL. All right, that's going to do it for the show today. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, like and subscribe. Always appreciate the support of the Power 5. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Power 5, but you can also catch me on WagerTalk today with Andy Lang in the noon Eastern hour. Hope to see you then. Until next time, let's cash some tickets.
line report. I know the comment section best Drew Martin bets impersonation, but I can't do it, you guys. He's just irreplaceable in that saying. That being said, let's bring in Teddy Covers. Talk about preseason week 1, what we learned, what we saw. Teddy, I'm in a tizzy. I'm on an airplane yesterday. My buddy Dan Livschatz, Chris Thurston, and I went to the casino the night before. They said, hey, we're betting the Saints under tomorrow. We got the best of the number, under 39, right? Sitting there feeling great. Line closes 37.5, and then boom, third quarter, pick 6. Meaningless field goal as time expires. Meaningless, I get it. You got to get your kickers reps in, but you get the idea. It has been over city. 14-2. Week 1, the overs went. Let's break down what we learned in week 1 and why every single game basically went over the total.
Well, hello, Kelly. And of course, look, let's start with the intro. All right. Drew had this particular way of going, welcome in to the NFL opening. And it like some reason that got everyone's blood going, myself included. All of a sudden you get excited about it. So I'm sure you'll develop your own intro. We always, look, I love Drew. I miss Drew, but I'm very happy to be working with you and I'm sure it'll be fine. But anytime there's change, people, it's something different, but welcome in. You'll find your you'll find your way to come.
Have Teddy do it. Teddy has the voice. It's deeper than mine, and that's all that matters.
When it comes to these overs, all right, what we're seeing, and we're seeing it already in the betting markets for week 2 of the preseason. After the Hall of Fame game went over, and we saw a bevy of overs in week 1. You talked about 14-2, and a lot of them just sneaking over the total again, but not all of them. Many of them flew over the total. We had multiple teams approach or exceed the total all by themselves, the Giants, the Patriots, et cetera, et cetera. And what's going to happen when you see that in week 1 of the preseason? Well, you're going to see a market reaction. And we're seeing that already with over money coming in on game after game. We'll talk about it as we go through these games one by one, like we do every single Monday morning. But the broader picture is this. It's a little bit random. It's not this. What did we see? There were 2 factors that really stood out to me. One, red zone execution better in week 1 this year than previous week 1s that I've seen. We saw more touchdowns and fewer field goals. 1st and 10 from the 20. Are you getting 3 points? Or are you getting 7? And this year, for whatever reason, we got a lot of 7s and not that many 3s. And of course, there was a ton of big plays, especially on special teams. More big plays on special teams than the average week. And that's typical for week 1 of the preseason when teams are still working on special team issues. There were kick returns. There were punt returns. There were lots of drives starting in opponent's territory, starting with good field position, setting up short fields. And that made all the difference when it came to totals. Now, has the NFL changed and we're going to see all overs this year? Worth paying attention to. But the markets catch up quickly. And like I said, we're already seeing a bunch of over money come in here in week 2. If we get a bunch more big plays on special teams and we see another week where the red zone execution is stellar, we're likely to have another week of overs. But I wouldn't count on that. I would expect it to be much closer to 50-50 in week 2 of the preseason when it comes to totals compared to what we saw in week 1.
And depending on when you bet the Dolphins, Dogs went 12-5 this weekend as well against the spread, which is one of my favorite things to see. Teddy, talk to me why you think the underdogs are cashing, or is that just another random anomaly for week 1 in preseason?
So make no mistake about it. The wise guys got their ass kicked this weekend. All right. I had a good handful of plays, and we're going to talk about them throughout the course, that certainly weren't right. And what happens in August, it doesn't take much money to move a line. All right. The markets move really quickly when bettors start coming because they know they're not likely to get two-way action on these games. So the lines move pretty fast. And in this instance, there are all kinds of circumstances. This game played out this way, that game in months. As we go through the games, we'll talk about what played out and why it played out that way. But the bottom line was we saw many of the wise guy moves, the sharp money, get buried wrong for all kinds of different reasons. And therefore, you have a team that's a short dog and they take money, boom, they're going to be a favorite in the New York Minute. And there were a handful of games that bounced back and forth. The Giants-Bills, the game where could have both sides of the favorite. You talked about Miami and Chicago and that late money coming for the Dolphins, very late money. Where Miami closed -1 at kickoff in some books. So there weren't a whole lot of games where the line moved mattered. There was one, we gave you an emergency betting alert last week at this time with the Raiders Seahawks, where the line move mattered a whole lot. And certainly Miami, Chicago was a second game like that where you bet it made a big difference in terms of whether you had a good Sunday of wagering or not so much.
Teddy, really quickly, I wanted to ask, because this was a discussion I had with some of the bettors that I linked up with in Boston. And I was sitting there, let's call it 10 minutes before Bengals-Eagles kicked off. And I said, man, that's what I got to bet the Eagles. And I look at my buddy who I know has Bengals +1 in pocket, like great number. And I go, aren't you going to try to go for a middle? And he goes, that would be the smart thing to do. And then bet it. And I'm sitting there watching, the TV's over my shoulder, and I just kept shaking my head. Should people watching the show, should sharp better, should other people be taking advantage of these huge possible middles in preseason?
So if you're getting the best of the number, all right, and then you have the opportunity to get the best of the number the other way, there's certainly something to be said for that. You know, when you're catching 4 or 5, especially when you're crossing 0, there's a case to be made for betting one side early and then betting another side late. That said, for me, it always, and every hedging question for me comes down to a single question. Do you like your original bet? Do you still like your original bet? And do you legitimately like the other side at the current number? And it's a matter of balancing those two questions. If you still like your original bet, you're fine. You don't need to do anything. You know, I hate throwing away a winner and turning it into a push. All right. That bugs the crap out of me. I got the best of the number. Oh, well, now let's bet it the other way. So in general, when I do that, I'll bet it back for less. You know, if I have a full unit, I'll put a half unit on the other side. If it's just, all right, there's just, hey, the lines move 6 points, let's at least take some value back the other way. That's something that I can and do. Wouldn't argue with anyone else doing that as well. No, I'm not talking do. That was my picks yesterday. I'm just kidding. Not really. But it's something that bettors can and will do. But for me, it always comes down to, do I still like that first bet? If I still like that first bet, I tend to do nothing.
All right. Teddy has been crushing NFL Week 1 the last 10 years, 30-11. That is 73% against the spread, 8-2 against the spread with big tickets. It's 80%, guys. Teddy, talk to people right now, because there's still some time before the regular season of the NFL kicks off. You do a season win report every single summer, and it is a must read.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's I spent a lot of time on the NFL. I spent a lot of time on the NFL in May and June. You know, post-draft, my focus is let's get ready for the season. And I spend the next 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how long it takes, prepping up and going through every team, going through schedule analysis, going through personnel issues, going through coaching issues. I spent a lot of time with it over the summer, early summer. And then we put up the win report. And obviously, when it goes 103-52 over a 24-year span, I'm doing something right. 17-4 with the 5% big tickets. Those have been very, very good over the years. We won the 5% big ticket last year, Saints under. We had a winning report again last year. So it's not like all these numbers were, you know, from way back in the day before the markets were as tight as they are now. And the other beauty about this report is that you end up using it all year long. You know, you use the analysis. If a team that we like gets off to a cold start, you're like, yeah, well, we expect them to bounce back. If a team that we don't like gets off to a hot start, like the Saints last year, we say, all right, tap the brakes a little bit. This team's not that good. So you can use that assessment and the write-ups throughout the course of the entire season. So it's a report that is done. Obviously, we talked about it very well over the years. It's available right now on my homepage, wt.buzz/TC at WagerTalk.com.
Okay, Teddy, let's get into NFL preseason week 2 starting Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We have the Titans, who opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. Totals, interesting. Seeing some under money come in now that it got ticked up to 37, open 35.5. Now we're seeing some buyback here, seeing some 36.5 there at the offshores. Break down this matchup and what we should expect to see from both teams in the second week of the preseason.
So I just want to ask you didn't ask me about rookie QBs. Are we saving that for a little bit later in the show?
I am going to say that. I've got a rookie QB in mind in case we see him week 2, because I want to talk about some of those maybe possible overreactions to one game sample sizes?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Shedeur Sanders before this show is through. Believe you me. So last night, I wrote down all the lines that were available before I went to bed. We'll talk about where they moved overnight. And the one thing that has happened this game, again, it was 3.5 last night. It's still 3.5 this morning. Total last night, 35.5, 36, 36.5. Today, 37/37.5. So we have seen at least some over money for this game. Not the only game, as I mentioned, that we've seen over money so far. Let's talk about Tennessee. And when it comes to misleading final scores, look, the Titans weren't good against the Bucs. That being said, they were down 13-7, driving to take the lead in the fourth quarter. And then you look up and they lose 29-7. You're like, what the? Well, it was not a good fourth quarter for Tennessee, to put it mildly. Cam Ward, 2 drives. He had 1 3-and-out and then a touchdown drive. You know, Tennessee took the money against Tampa in that ball game. The quote from Brian Callahan, quote, I thought Cam played well the 2 series he got. It was kind of a weird first half with only 3 possessions. He had 1 3-and-out, came back with a touchdown drive. He started to feel comfortable and was begging to go back in, but that was not in the cards. Ward, quote, it was a lot of guys first time playing together. Felt good to come up with points. I wanted to go out for a 3rd series, but Coach Callahan had a plan for us. We'll stick to his plan. Behind Cam Ward, pretty ugly for Tennessee. Brandon Allen, no scoring drives. He threw a pick, and he was stopped on the downs in the first drive of the 3rd quarter inside the 5-yard line with Tennessee playing for the lead. And Tim Boyle, a guy who has had preseason success in the past, a guy who started in this league, 4 of 13 for 24 yards. The offense didn't move at all. Punt, interception, pick 6 in Boyle's 4 drives. Only 11 first downs for Tennessee, only 3.6 yards per play. Plain and simple. Lots of talk about Tennessee's offensive line. How's it going to be? What's it going to look like? Well, that offensive line did not control the line of scrimmage, especially as the game progressed and 2nd and 3rd stringers were on the field. For Atlanta, look, they only ran 36 plays in the game. The game got called early. They didn't get to 55 minutes, despite that. If you had a ticket and all of a sudden there's a play that, what was it, like a 5-minute play before the league announced that they were going to suspend it, as the players, you know, they snapped and then they all stood together and prayed after Detroit lost a defensive back, carted off the field. And then the league said, all right, we're going to cancel the game. That being said, Easton Stick first half, Emory Jones second half. It wasn't like they moved the football that great. They couldn't run the ball at all. 0 rushing first downs, 11 for 22, 11 carries, 22 yards. Wasn't pretty. And this is one worth noting. Raheem Morris now 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread in August as the Falcons head coach over the last 2 seasons. Although we'll give him an asterisk for this loss. We don't know. For this loss, we don't know how that fourth quarter would have played out were it not for the injury.
All right, let's go on to the second game on Friday night. That would be Kansas City, Seattle, 10 p.m. Eastern. They're 7 p.m. on the West Coast. Open 2.5, 39.5. Teddy, you mentioned those overs coming in right away. We're even starting to see some 41.5s pop up on my odds logic screen. 3 pretty much across the board until you get to some of the offshores and even South Point there in Vegas. Let's talk about this Chiefs team being favored here in the preseason.
Let's talk about our first emergency betting alert of the show. You talked about...
I had to do the sound effects because Teddy did not like Dan's siren he played this morning. He said it was too jarring. So I gotta do the sirens. I'm gonna get some glow sticks. It'll be like my nightclub days. And if you guys have gather here for the emergency betting alert,
yeah, I don't want like a wake up alarm. That's gonna make people like the last, especially on Monday morning. That's the last thing anybody wants to hear is that particular noise. You know, I want something light and fruity. You know, like
he's right, Kelly. He is right.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna get like a
for what it's worth.
Like
that being said, if you like this total, it's already moved. All right, you can still find 41s right now. It's going higher. All right, if you like Kansas City, the 2.5s are disappearing. We're already seeing 3s out there. There are still 2.5s available right now. Kansas City 2.5 over 41. Both of those 2 lines I'm not convinced we're going to be seeing later this week. Last night was 2.5 and 40.5. So we've seen movement. You know, the markets have tilted that direction. We haven't seen the broader move for every book getting pounded yet. I would not be surprised if we do. For Seattle, look, Drew Lock moved the football the whole first half. He did throw a red zone interception, and that's really the only reason that it wasn't a blowout. They still had 16-3 at the break with a missed extra point, but it could have been 24-3 at halftime were it not for that one Lock INT. Jalen Milroe came in the second half, 38 rushing yards, including a 27-yard scramble. That's bet on for a third stringer in preseason. And it's hard to run in August, hard to run consistently in August with the offensive line combinations. Well, Seattle, 32 carries, 170 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, 10 rushing first downs. Those were good numbers. And there's a open competition, not open competition, but there's right guard and center are both still in flux for Seattle. And head coach Mike McDonald said that the competition will continue this week. So there's extra urgency for this offensive line. Of course, a tie for the Seabags in that game. Mike McDonald, quote, "You never want to tie a football game. That kind of stinks." As for Kansas City, Mahomes led a 13-yard touchdown drive, 1 for 1 yard after an Arizona turnover with his passing. I would expect to see him more this week. Then Gardner Minshew came in, 2 drives, 1 touchdown. Then Bailey Zappi. Zappi was not good. Threw a couple of picks. Chris Olajuwon, 6 of 13 for 39. He had 2 drives to win the game, with a chance to win the game, and the offense did not work, and they did not come close to field goal range. Worth noting, file away for next year, Andy Reid now 0-3, straight up ATS in preseason openers the last 3 years. And he went 0-3 ATS last year, so it's now an 0-4 ATS run for Reid and company in August. His quote, "There were some good things. I thought the starters played well when they were in. They were sharp. After that, we were too sloppy, too many penalties going backwards." So Reid showing some urgency for this week after a sloppy performance from everyone after the starters last week. That tends to be bet on. And again, we're already seeing that in the markets. The 2.5s, they're becoming 3s. If you like KC, bet it now.
Sorry for the delay. I am on Amazon buying one of those like red truck lights. I think that's what I need. I think I need a prop for the show, Teddy. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold up the light. Then it's not so jarring and it's funny. You guys, again, tell us in the comment section what you think would be the best. You guys run the show, not me. I'm just here trying to pretend that I, really, really love the NFL. College football is right around the corner. Teddy covers. And you know what? You did really well in college football last year. Let's talk about some of your big tickets in regards to the plays that you're making and what people can expect there at WagerTalk.
Yeah, so, I mean, the big tickets across sports have been really good. I'm close to 60% dating back to 2021, counting, I think it's 59.4, 59.5%, counting every 5% big ticket play in every sport since 2021. College football has been particularly good. 6-0 the last 6 tries. That dates back to 2023. I didn't put out a lot of them last year. Very selective with the 5% big tickets in both college football and the NFL. But when I post them, they've been very, very good. And as you talked about, that 100% run that dates back to 2023 on the 5%. Hopefully we'll find something for week 1. Have not posted a 5% big ticket just yet when it comes to this year's college football. But it's something bettors should pay attention to.
All right, let's go into Saturday, the first game there at 1:00. And actually, we have a handful of 1:00 games. It's going to be almost like a real NFL Sunday, Teddy. Green Bay, Indianapolis. Indy opened -4.5. Total 38.5 here on my odds logic screen. 6.5, Teddy. 39.5. Again, we're seeing these overs coming in. But man, are the wise guys just laying the favorites and hope that maybe we see some regression again from last week? I know they took a beating, but this is interesting to see all of these sizable favorites get bet up early.
So the teams are favored for a reason. And there, there's issues right now in Green Bay. That's why they're fading the Colts in this ballgame. Last night it was 4.5, 38.5, pretty much painted across the board. Today it's 6. There's even 6.5 out there right now, 39.5. So obviously the overnight money has come for the favorite and for the over. One of these things, I don't know if it's worth anything, but Matt LaFleur, 2022, 2023, 2024. He lost off every preseason win and won off every preseason loss. The Packers against the Jets this past weekend did not look good. They allowed a fumble return touchdown. Jordan Love, 2 drives, 2 punts, only 1 of 5 passing. Malik Willis had a sack, fumble, return for a touchdown, and only had led one field goal drive. Sean Clifford and then Taylor Eigersma. And I'll tell you this, when Taylor Eigersma is on the field and you're down by 20, you don't need to watch anymore. Do not move the football. 64 net passing yards between the four quarterbacks, 1 of 10 on third downs. But what's the issue? I'm not sure there's urgency here. They were without 4 of their top 6 receivers against the Jets, very banged up receiving core. They're without their starting cornerbacks, Nate Hobbs and Xavier McKinney, for the rest of the preseason. Look, they got outgained 403 to 188. The Jets forced 4 sacks. They had a pair of first half takeaways. LaFleur said he's not likely to play Love anymore in the preseason. He did say he may push a little harder in practice. LaFleur's quote after the game, quote, "That was a humbling experience. Definitely not what we want to put out there. I don't care. Preseason, regular season, doesn't matter to me. It was just sloppy football. Too many penalties, drops, missed tackles, bad decision-making, and it really showed up in every phase. If you do that, you're going to get your ass kicked." And that's exactly what happened. So the money's come against Green Bay already. We know they're banged up. They're banged up on both sides of the ball, receiving core and cornerback room, and that's certainly an issue. But I would say there's more urgency than usual for a team coming off that level of performance with those type of coach quotes from LaFleur. But again, we're not going to see Jordan Love, I don't think, which is part of the reason why we've seen Indy money. The Colts took a ton of money against Baltimore. The defense picked off the Ravens on the opening drive, led to a field goal. Everything's going great. And then Anthony Richardson got hurt on the second drive, and the tone completely changed for Indy. That was what, -1 to -6 in that game. They allowed a punt return touchdown. They allowed a long kickoff return to set up another touchdown. Daniel Jones was okay, 10 of 21 for a $144. Riley Leonard had lots of playing time in the second half. He threw a pick, and then he got stopped on downs in Baltimore territory. The last 2 drives, the game on the line, Colts had a chance, but Riley Leonard did not get the job done. Quarterbacks coach Cam Turner talking about the Richardson injury. I don't think it's a big deal. He looked like he was gripping it normal. Anytime you put something in a throwing hand, it's a little bit different, uncomfortable. Richardson was back in practice already, so I would expect he'll get plenty of playing time this week against the Packers. And, of course, when you have a QB competition for the starters, well, the betting markets are interested in that. Hence the money for Indy last week, and hence the money for Indy that we've seen already this week.
All right. New England, Minnesota. Minnesota. This is where it gets a little weird for me, Teddy. So just so you know, I've got my odds logic screen open. Johnny Detroit told me the Bet War was one of the sharper books. Of course, I've got Superbook in there. I've got Circa, DraftKings, FanDuel, Pinnacle. So open is 1.5 for Minnesota, but one of the sharpest books and South Point are Pick'em here, even though Minnesota opened up as a 1.5 point favorite. New England's pretty much, 1.5 across the board. It's just weird for me to see this 38.5 up to 39.5, of course, at Pinnacle, because they're getting ahead of the market. Talk to me about when you see sharp books here on some of these screens, completely different, 1.5 points off of the market. Or is it really not that big of a deal, in the NFL? Because as John Murray likes to say, NFL games don't land 1.
Well, in preseasons past, 1 and 2 matter a lot in the NFL. Now with the games, we saw 2 ties this weekend, all right? And we didn't see any games decided by less than a field goal. So that's one that stood out to me as maybe things are shifting a little bit. That being said, it's going to take more than 1 week of data for me to be comfortable with that. But with the yes, you don't have to play overtime, we'll just call the game off, and the tie rule, that certainly changed the way it plays out in the second half and the fourth quarter of many of these ball games. Last night, what did we see? It was Minnesota -1.5, total 38/38.5. So really haven't seen that much in that regard. The Patriots against the Commanders, there was heavy New England money. I couldn't figure it out why the money came in New England. I took the value with Washington. That was as wrong a side as I'll have all year. The value was gone after the opening kickoff was returned for a touchdown. Oops, you got a touchdown? No, give that touchdown away. And the Pats were pretty jacked up for Mike Vrabel in his home debut. 7 scoring drives for New England compared to 2 punts. That's good for a preseason game. They hung 48 points. You don't see that a lot in August. Drake May had a touchdown drive. Josh Dobbs had 3 drives, field goal, touchdown. Ben Woolridge was the guy I wanted to bet against. He got in the game. It was already 27-3. And by the way, he led a pair of fourth quarter touchdown drives. Not the bet against I thought he was. Washington, 13 penalties, New England, 2. So much of that was the Commanders looking pretty awful. That being said, there's some excitement in New England this year, no question about it. And Drake May, at least a part of that. For Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy had a nice field goal drive. Sam Howell was pretty good. He had a 6-minute field goal drive and a 7-minute touchdown drive before halftime. Brett Rippon came in, 3 third quarter drives, none moved the football. Max Brosmer came in the fourth. He moved the ball a little bit. But the key in that game against Houston was Brian Flores' defense, just controlled the flow throughout. I couldn't understand the over money that came in that ball game. I'm not looking to bet Minnesota games over the total right now. And note that this game, 38.5 last night, still 38.5 today. This is not one of the games that's taken over money. Here's the quote from Kevin O'Connell about J.J. McCarthy, who looked pretty good. Quote, "We don't do a lot of game planning for these games, but we also want to give our guys a chance to go out there and have success. There are going to be some plays where guys have to rise up and make some plays above the scheme. He did that a couple times with his legs. It didn't really feel like he put the ball in harm's risk very much in that sequence." So certainly McCarthy showing promise for Minnesota. And right now, again, this line, a little bit of Patriots money, not doing a whole lot just yet.
All right, let's get into the next handful of games here. Carolina at Houston. Houston up to 2.5 here at some spots. Teddy, after opening a very small half-point favorite, 37.5, and even some 38 starting to pop up. 38.5 there at DraftKings in regards to the total.
Yeah, and last night we're looking at anything from 1.5 to 2.5 on this game, total 37.5. So we have seen, really not a lot. The markets are still deciding where this game should be. Carolina versus Cleveland. Bryce Young led a touchdown drive. Andy Dalton played after. All the second quarter, 3 drives in the third quarter. Dave Canales was really trying to get him a score, and he couldn't. Dalton couldn't move the offense against the backups for Cleveland. That's a concern. He left down 21-7 after throwing an interception on 1st and 10 from their own 38. Jake Plummer, the rookie out of Louisville, led a late field goal drive that wasn't easy or pretty. They had a muff punt that led to a Brown touchdown. The Browns offense didn't score in the first 3 possessions when facing Carolina starting defense. That's something we'll talk about again in the Shedeur Sanders narrative. Again, 3 possessions against Carolina starters didn't work. That being said, 251 yards of offense, 6 penalties, 2 turnovers. It wasn't clean. Canales, quote, "Part of our play style is playing smart, and I don't feel like we did that." For Houston, Davis Mills got a touchdown drive. Then Keaton Slovis came in, had 1 field goal on the first drive after halftime. Slovis did not move the ball effectively. Then Graham Mertz was pretty awful. Like, again, if you watched him in college, Graham Mertz is not an NFL quarterback. Keaton Slovis is not an NFL quarterback. Mertz threw interceptions on each of the game's final 3 drives. DeMeco Ryans, quote, "I was really pleased with our first offensive group." Yes, I liked everyone just being very calm and composed. Davis did an excellent job of driving the ball down the field, commanding the huddle, putting the ball in good placement. Worth noting that injury to C.J. Gardner-Johnson isn't as serious as it looked. Their star safety, their star free agent pickup, could be ready to play in week 1. That said, another issue in the secondary, their safety, Jimmy Ward, got arrested for the 2nd time in the last 2 months. They picked up Jalen Mills, or signed Jalen Mills, as a result of 91 career starts. He played for the Jets last year, and it's an intriguing veteran presence for Houston on the defensive side of the football.
All right, Teddy, I had asked you yesterday after seeing a really funny tweet about, what were your initial reactions, right, of a player? And our friends at Splash Sports talked about Quinn Ewers, and I wanted to just write, guys, did you not watch any Texas games? But I didn't, because I get too much flack about that. When I sent it to you, you immediately assumed I wanted to talk about Shedeur Sanders, and we're going to. But I was actually referring to Jackson Dart and how everybody was losing their minds. You're right, though. I was just on social media. Everybody was, Shedeur is going to be the starter week 1, and we're seeing this crazy, in my opinion, overreaction. Philadelphia, though, a 1-point favorite. That's what they opened up at, still across the board. Totals ticked up a little bit from 36.5, seeing some 37.5s and even some 38s. Talk to me about what we saw week 1 from Shedeur Sanders and why everybody needs to pump the brakes.
Yeah, chill the F out. Look, we're interested when a rookie quarterback comes in and moves a football against opposing first-string defense. Absolutely. That's not what happened with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders faced a basic defense. It wasn't like they were blitzing. And when the starters were on the field, Shedeur Sanders was ineffective. Once the starters left the field, Shedeur Sanders moved the football and everything was fine. But starter versus starter, 3 drives, no points with Sanders on the field. Jackson Dart was pretty good, but you asked me which quarterback impressed me, and I don't know, is Tanner McKee a rookie? I don't think so. But he was the player of the weekend. Nobody looked better than Tanner McKee at QB this past weekend for Philadelphia, 20 of 25 for 252 after Philly fell behind early, Cincy starters versus Eagles backups. McKee burned the sharp money. And then you had the DTR, Thompson Robinson. It wasn't a great, but he had a touchdown drive, came after a turnover, and a 4th down penalty gave him a free 1st and goal, so he didn't get him into the end zone. Kyle McCord in the 4th quarter couldn't move the football at all. Worth noting, in practice yesterday, Pro Bowl left guard for Philadelphia, Landon Dickerson, was carted off the field. That's an impact injury. That being said, Philadelphia is deep on the offensive line and on the defensive line, much, much deeper than most teams. And for Cleveland, look, Sanders was good. Tyler Huntley was good. Sanders on the field for 45 plays. His quote, I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that's what it is. I've got pockets of finding my rhythm, and I got into that quicker, regardless of anything. Overall, it felt like me out there. Did I play up to par? No, I don't feel like I did. But overall, the main goal was to win. And that's honestly what we did. Again, three drives against Carolina starters, no points in there, didn't move the football. And that quote saying the main goal was to win stood out to me. Kevin Stefanski, prior to this weekend, had 2 wins in 10 preseason games in 2022. The Browns sat the majority of their starters. Their main goal is not to win. Now, Sanders had been the 4th-string quarterback throughout camp for Cleveland. So he's getting to work with better guys than he'd been playing with. But Stefanski's hopeful that Pickett and Gabriel, Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, will both be able to fully participate in joint practices this week with Philadelphia, which will say we'll see how much action either of them two gets in the game. But just about all the games this week we're talking about, there will be joint practice sessions. Those joint practice sessions, again, the team that looks great in joint practice isn't always the team that's going to bring it in the game, because those guys got their meaningful reps in already.
All right, let's keep on cruising through the rest of these games. Teddy, Miami, Detroit, Miami up to 3.5. I can't believe this one's been bet up 2 points already. 35.5 the opener, 36.5, 37.5, 37. As I look across my odds logic screen, Miami yesterday looked fairly decent. Now, again, I was just kind of perusing, right? When you're on the airplane, your channel flipping, you're watching different games. But from what I saw, not bad offensively. Yet then they just kind of stalled in the second half when they made some changes. If you had Miami, condolences, unless, of course, you had the +1. As you mentioned, the Detroit Lions game got cut short. Talk about this one and what you expect to see from both teams.
So the Miami game versus the Bears had insane last 2-minute shenanigans. You know, if you want to talk about something that you don't expect to see, there was a scenario late in the game where Chicago, in the regular season, they kicked the field goal on 4th down and 4 from where they're about the 38 or the 40-yard line or so. Instead, in the preseason, they took a shot down the field. It looked like a pass interference, didn't get the call. So then Miami got the ball. They, too, were in a position where in the regular season they'd have kicked. But they're like, it's a tie game. There's 20 seconds left. Who cares? They chucked it up. And they were stopped on 4th down, which led to one more chance for Chicago in the closing seconds. And again, they couldn't score for the second time either. We'll talk about that when we come down to the Bears. There was heavy late money for Miami when the markets found out Tua was going to play. And obviously where you bet it mattered. The Bears -3 down to pick. There was even some Bears +1 out there that I didn't get, but I wish I would have had with the game finishing a tie. So Zach Wilson took 4 sacks on 13 dropbacks. Quinn Ewers, and I bet Chicago because I wanted to bet against Quinn Ewers, and he was every bit to bet against I thought he'd be. The offense didn't move. He was 5 of 18. Miami wasn't good in the second half of that ball game, but the Bears found ways to screw things up. They just did. It was one of those type of contests. Detroit, the game ended early, obviously, after the Lions D-back got carted off the field. They're not playing any starters here in August. Hendon Hooker had a rough Hall of Fame game. He said he had a lot to prove this next week after getting the start. And what happened? Fumble, 3 and out, 1 first down and out, and then a sack fumble before he got benched against Atlanta. Got 38 yards on 10 pass attempts. Kyle Allen was much better against the Falcons. 3rd and 4th stringers. He played like a veteran, 7 of 8 for $120 and 2. But we're expecting something from Hendon Hooker that we haven't seen either of the first 2 weeks. Clearly, the markets are saying Hooker may not be a guy that we trust with all this money pouring in on Miami right now. The 3s, they're gone. The 3.5s, they're gone. I'm seeing 4/4.5 as we speak at many books. Sorry, there's still some 3.5s out there, but literally this line is moving as we're talking. Was as low as 1.5 last night. Total was as low as 35.5 last night. If you like Miami, you've already missed the best of the number. Well,
You're muted, Kelly.
I am muted because I was just commenting on Slack about how we have 1,000 of you guys watching live on X. So shout out to all of you guys. Shout out to all of you guys here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and, of course, on Instagram. We appreciate you guys. It is 11:30 here in the morning on the East Coast. It's 8:30 on the West Coast on a Monday. So shout out to you guys. This is why we do this show. San Francisco plus 6.5 now. Teddy, this one opened 3.5 in favor of the Raiders. Total's been ticked up as well to 40.5. Pete Carroll was interesting last week. I saw a sign making fun of Geno Smith, and he kind of got a little snappy there and said we should be giving him some more credit. Is Geno going to be starting in this game, and that's why we're seeing them as such a sizable favorite now?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm comfortable emergency betting alert this one as well. Because if you like Las Vegas, again, it's already last night we were seeing in this game there were 3.5s. It's 6 this morning. I expect it to go to 7 or higher. All right. There was heavy Denver money against San Francisco. +1. It was high as -7, close 6.5 at most books. The 49ers led 9-0 after the first quarter, and then it was a 30-0 Broncos run out. Mac Jones opening touchdown drive, then a 3 and out, then interception, then he got benched. Carter Bradley from South Alabama, then Tanner Mordecai from Wisconsin. Neither guy an NFL quarterback. They got 3 quarters worth of playing time last week and didn't produce a point. 3.8 yards per play on offense, 1 of 12 on third downs, and -4 turnovers. Kyle Shanahan, it was frustrating. I liked how we started out, but after that, there wasn't too much to be excited about. We didn't get many first downs, 4 turnovers, 3 picks, the fumble. We made too many mistakes. Shanahan, there's no urgency in winning preseason games. It's not a bet on QB rotation. And San Fran, like another team we're going to talk about later, is a banged up football team. And the 49ers, a team with big goals for this season. When you're banged up in early August, those guys are not going to be on the field against the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are working through different offensive line combinations throughout camp. They had offensive line problems throughout against Seattle. Geno only completed 1 pass. Aston Jonty had -1 rushing yards. They mercifully sat them after 1 drive before they got killed. Aiden O'Connell had a great camp and put him in a real game, and he threw 2 picks, neither of which was pretty. The rookie Cam Miller from North Dakota State actually moved the football well in the fourth quarter. They had 2 touchdown drives in the fourth. And, of course, if you paid attention to the emergency line betting alerts last week and bet the Raiders right at the get-go, you were able to cash a ticket with the Raiders. The defense got gashed pretty good in that game versus the run, versus the pass, third downs. None of them were pretty. They had a blocked field goal with a chance to win on the final play of the game. Pete Carroll, who's a guy who's interested in winning in August, quote, "We started really poorly. We didn't run the ball well in the first half. We didn't really do anything very well. But we stayed close, and it was an opportunity for us to face that and then come back and see what you do in the second half." And it was a marvelous second half. Carroll always finds positive things to say. That's why his teams love him so much.
All right, Teddy. Let's keep it on going. We got 8 games left. I started the monologue off way too long. New York Jets, New York Giants. Ooh, this has been a fun line flip. Jets open 1.5, now +3, total up to 39.5.
Yeah, I mean, last night there were pick'ems for the Jets. There were 1.5s. There were 2.5s. This has been pounded since we got on air. It was still the Giants 1.5 when we got on air. Now we're seeing 3s and 3.5. So the emergency betting alert has come and gone for this ballgame. We have seen over money, 37.5 up to 38.5 for Jets Giants. And sorry, I lost my Jets Giants notes somewhere. Oh, yeah, Justin Fields led a touchdown drive against the Green Bay backups. Brady Cook had a nice drive. He got stopped on downs, had nothing. Adrian Martinez played the whole second half. He was pretty good. Tyrod Taylor, knee injury has kept him sidelined. I don't think he's going to play this week either. They did score on a fumble return touchdowns. The defense was excellent, only allowed 1 of 10 on third downs. And they gained 9.1 yards per pass attempt, a team that had struggled to throw the football throughout practice. Well, the Jets, the market certainly liked what they did this past week. But the Giants, maybe markets like what they did more. Russell Wilson looked good, a field goal drive. Jackson Dart led 3 scoring drives. Jameis Winston supposed to move the ball in the third quarter. Well, he had punt, interception called back on defensive offsides. That led to a touchdown. Tommy DeVito was slinging it in the fourth quarter versus third-string defenders. DeVito, a bet on QB in August. The quotes coming out of the G-men, Brian DeBall, quote, "It's about what I thought Jackson Dart would do. He's improved since he's been here. Still got a long, long way to go." So as for as good as Dart looked, obviously not as good as the stats might indicate, according to the head coach. The Giants clearly have a betting a QB rotation that the betting markets like, and they've taken all the early money. At 3, I'm not convinced it goes to 3.5 or higher. So if you've missed the very best of the number, if you like the G-men, that said, I wouldn't talk you out of taking the -3 right now. If you like the Giants, you're not getting crushed when it comes to line value.
All right, Teddy, let's go to LA. Chargers, Rams. Chargers opened as a 2.5-point favorite, total 35.5. They've taken some money, some 3s, some 3.5s, and all the way up to 37.5 on some of these shops in the odds logic screen.
Yeah, it was mostly 3.5. It was almost all 3.5 last night. I had 3.5 with a 2.5 as a percentage. So there was one book that had a 2.5, one prominent book. Everyone else did 3.5 already last night. 36.5 here, 37.5 out there. The total has been bet up. Tyler Heineke got the job for the Chargers, got the start for the Chargers. 3 drives, 2 punts, and a safety. It wasn't pretty. Trey Lance wasn't like the Hall of Fame game. He did lead 1 touchdown drive before halftime, played the whole third quarter too. The offense wasn't great. And then DJ Ugalele on the last drive, he only threw 1 pass, but it was a beauty. Set up a 41-yard completion that set up a touchdown. That being said, they only had 3 passing first downs, which is few as you'll ever see for a team with a winning cover. I was worried about the Rashawn Slater injury, how it was going to affect the Chargers. It's still 11 rushing first downs, 148 rushing yards, 4.4 yards per carry. They have a joint practice with the Rams on Wednesday. I read a report that it could be canceled because there are too many Chargers injuries. And yet they're taking the money here. Rams, Stetson Bennett played the entire game. That's bet on. They have 38 carries for 181 yards. That's bet on. The quotes coming out of L.A. are all about Matthew Stafford. He threw 68 passes at the Rams practice facility during a workout on Saturday morning. A step in the right direction. L.A. won with Stetson Bennett, but they're not a team that gives a hoot about wins or losses in August. And, I can't lay 3.5 for the Chargers, though. They've got injuries, and cluster injuries matter more than any other factor at this time of the year when it comes to preseason success.
All right, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, the Bucks -2.5 at opener, and pretty much still there, maybe -120 there at Pinnacle. 37.5, some 38s popping up there. Teddy, talk about what we saw from the Bucks last week against the Panthers, and maybe Skylar Thompson's a good NFL quarterback.
Against third-string defenses, you love a guy like Skylar Thompson. Again, who's good? Well, you're good in theory, if you have some experience, you've seen NFL defenses, you have an offensive line that can protect you a little bit, and or the opposing team's not blitzing, and you're facing third string or fourth string defenders, yeah, Skylar Thompson's great. Bet on quarterback in August. Last night, this line was sitting at Tampa -1/1.5, 37.5. This is one game that has not seen over money for what it's worth. The Steelers, the market's faded the hell out of Pittsburgh in their opener, +1 to +6. They were sitting starters. Their depth is fine. Now, Mason Rudolph, again, bet on duo in August with Skylar Thompson. Don't know who's going to be QB this week, but that's what we saw last week. Now, Tomlin had been 18-4 straight up from 2017 to 2023 in the preseason. Then last year, 0-3 straight up and against the spread. Well, Pittsburgh got back to their winning ways in week 1 of this year's preseason. For Tampa Bay, money poured in against the Titans. They were against Tampa on the Titans. The Bucs were +1 at the open. They were as high as +4 at the close. 178 rushing yards for Tampa Bay, though they had an injury. Rashad White got hurt in that game. The D forced 3 turnovers and basically dominated the game. I wanted to bet against this QB duo. Kyle Trask in the first half, Connor Bazelak in the second half. Bazelak wasn't good, only 48 passing yards. I wanted to bet against him for good reason, but Tennessee didn't do anything, unfortunately. And Trask was pretty good. Todd Bowles, I thought he played very well. He made some timely throws down the field. He was poised in the pocket. Practice wasn't as sharp as this past week, but he played well in the game.
All right, keeping it moving here. Baltimore taking on Dallas. Baltimore up to 3 now, 37.5 popping up on the screen as well. Teddy, talk about what we're expecting to see from the Ravens and the Cowboys.
Yeah, look ahead. Last night line was split between 2.5 and 3 for this ball game. Total 36.5. Look at that. We have not seen the over money for this game either. Baltimore, it was a little bit fraudulent, the final score in their win. They had a punt return touchdown. They had a long kickoff return that set up another touchdown. Devin Leary, 3 of 12 for 43 yards. Cooper Rush, 2 of 4 for 13 yards. Combined, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked twice. You won by 2 touchdowns against the spread with a negative turnover differential and 3.8 yards per play on offense. That's not going to happen every week. For the Cowboys, Joe Milton went most of the game. He had one game where he played New England last year, but this is not a veteran that's comfortable in the system. And then he bruised his elbow in the fourth quarter. Will Greer took over on the last drive. Milton had a bunch of wow moments during the first training camp with Dallas. But we've been hearing this about Joe Milton since he was quarterbacking in Michigan before he went to Tennessee. About his arm strength is great. Brian Schottenheimer. The arm is very evident. I mean, you cannot miss the arm strength. Yeah, we've known that for Joe Milton for the last 6 years, but that hasn't resulted into good offenses moving the football down the field. We'll have to see what his status is this week, again, after hurting his elbow on the final drive of the game this past weekend against the Rams.
All right, keeping it moving here. Arizona up to 6.5, Teddy, after opening yesterday at 3.5. 40.5 starting to pop up here on the odds logic screen.
Yeah, Denver is a very popular choice in the betting markets right now. We saw that in week 1. They trailed 9-0 after the first quarter and then had a 30-0 run out. And that was with Bo Nix struggling. 6 of 11 for 31 yards. Jarrett Stidham came in and played great, played all the second quarter, played the whole third quarter too. Sam Ehlinger stepped into the fourth, punt, stopped on downs, and a touchdown drive late on a short field goal after a San Francisco turnover. The Broncos defense has dominated in camp. They dominated this game too. 3.8 yards per play allowed. They only allowed 1 third down conversion on 12 attempts. They were +4 in turnovers, and they had a 4th down stop as well. That being said, San Fran didn't play a whole lot of starters. Sean Payton, I thought we started slow. Both first units called the performance average to below average. There are a number of things that we're going to have to improve on. So Payton lighting the fire still, despite the final score showing that Denver won by 3 touchdowns. As for Arizona, Kyler Murray, 2 drives, 1 field goal, 1 interception. Then Jacoby Brissett, Clayton Tune played the whole second half. The offense didn't move the ball much. 1 field goal after halftime. They had 3 turnovers, finished -1, but still won the game as a dog. They fumbled their first 2 kickoff returns of the game. Then the quotes, they wanted to be positive despite all the miscues that they had. You can't replicate it in practice, moving around with the speed you're moving, going left to right, lateral, bodies moving. I had fun. I had a lot of fun out there. That's Kyler Murray's quote. Worth noting, Jonathan Gannon has been the head coach in Arizona since 2023. His largest margin of victory in August, 3 points. He has 3 wins by his 1-1 and 3 points. And he lost both previous week 2 games by a touchdown or more.
All right, let's move along to Sunday. We've got Jacksonville taking on the Saints. 2.5 was the opener, 38.5 down to 1.5, Teddy. And by the way, we already let Andy know if you guys are here early to watch WagerTalk TV, we're going to be just a couple minutes late because I like to filibuster before the show. So Teddy, take your time on these last 3 games.
Don't you worry. So you've been saying, let's move it along. I'm keeping my eye on the clock. I know we got to move. And, I shorten my analysis when necessary. What are we talking? Jags and Saints. Jacksonville -1.5, -2, -2.5 last night, 38.5 in that ball game. It's 1.5 everywhere today, total 38.5. So we've seen the markets have took out the higher numbers. The Saints look like the worst team in the NFL, pretty bad. Kellen Moore's now 0-1 straight up and against the spread in August, and they were rough in that ball game. Spencer Rattler, he's no NFL starting quarterback. They had a muffed Chargers punt. They still couldn't punch in a touchdown. Tyler Shuck came in after him. He was rough too, threw a pick 6. Jake Hayner played late. He threw a pick 2. And in general, we like teams with a quarterback competition. The markets are saying, and we've seen some Saints money here, but the markets are saying, not this quarterback competition, perhaps. Against the Jaguars, they took heavy money, -1 to -6 against Pittsburgh. Trevor Lawrence, a 7-minute opening drive against the Pittsburgh backups, led to a touchdown. Nick Mullins had a 12-play, 36 yards field goal drive, and then 2 punts. And then Cam Little had a 70-yard field goal before halftime. John Walford, 1 touchdown, 1 drive, 1 touchdown. Seth Hennigan from Memphis, 1 drive field goal, 2nd drive inside the 30 when the clock ran out. Liam Cohen said his offense was flagged twice in his opening drive, 4 drop passes in the first half, and the first team defense was gashed early. So there's urgency for the Saints. There's a little bit of urgency here for Jacksonville as well, even though a performance that wasn't as good as they hoped, and a game where they took a boatload of cash and lost all that money for their backers.
All right, Buffalo is a 2-point underdog. They're at Chicago. Total 38.5, pretty much across the board now, Teddy. As you mentioned, getting lots of early over money after last week, seeing 14-2 to the over. Thoughts on this one?
So there's no indication yet. That being said, let's emergency betting alert this. I have to think there's going to be money come from Chicago, just like we saw. Tyson Bagent and then Case Keenum. That's a bet on 2-0. When you talk about veteran QBs in the NFL, Austin Reed, the 3rd stringer, he was rough. He had 2 drives to win the game and couldn't move the football either time. There was late game shenanigans. We talked about that early. But the quarterback rotation that we like, and it's also worth noting, Dennis Allen was blitzing. We like defense coordinators who blitz. 6 sacks for the Bears. They did have a couple of blown coverages that made it different. The red zone defense wasn't all that good. For Buffalo, they threw the ball all game. Offense at 7.1 yards per play. Mitch Trubisky was good. Mike White was good. Shane Buechele was good. 2 bets with something to prove. McDermott, 11-2 straight up. 10-3 ATS from 2019 through 2023. But 1-2 straight up against the spread last year. This year, 0-1. The game they won last year was 9-3. And Buffalo didn't run the football well last week. I would expect we'll see lots of running the football this week against Chicago. Bears, I expect them to take some money. No surprise here if this line closes 3 or higher.
All right, last but not least, Monday night preseason week 2. Cincinnati opened up 3, sitting at 3 still, 39.5 up to 41.5. Teddy, tell me why the Bengals are getting, a little bit more love again here in week 2 after just getting throttled by the Eagles last week.
Well, so Washington has shown that they didn't give a crap.
Okay.
Worth noting, this line, it's going to say open 3 and still at 3. This line was at 2.5 everywhere last night and is now 3 this morning. So one book might have opened 3. The broader markets opened 2.5, and we've seen the broader markets move from 2.5 to 3. We've seen a bunch of over money for this ball game. If you like the over, don't wait. One last emergency betting alert before this line is through. Open 39, before the show is through. Open 39.5. Now we're looking at 41.5. it's a single event game on Monday night after a week of overs, we expect to see even more over money coming in this one. And look, it's probably not going to be my money. All right. The starting offense looked great for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow with 2 first-quarter touchdown drives. That was Cincy starter versus Philly backups. They couldn't run the football. Desmond Ridder showed us again that he's not an NFL quarterback. He did lead a late fourth-quarter starting drive, but he wasn't good. Jake Browning wasn't very good. His interception essentially ended the game, put Philly up by 3 scores. Do not overreact to Cincinnati's defensive struggles like everybody on social media did. Oh, my God, the Bengals defense again. What Cincy did in that game, base defense only, all right? They weren't showing any looks. They weren't showing any blitzes. They had the first-string defense got lit up, but they were just playing base defense. Joe Burrow got extensive preseason action only the second time in his career. We could see more of that this week. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Burrow and how much he's going to play. As for Washington, I mean, again, they allowed an opening kickoff return touchdown. Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman were okay. Hartman got the start. He wasn't good. He was outclassed by the Patriots defense. Johnson played the rest of the way. He threw a pick too, but the offense moved the ball, at least with him behind center. Dan Quinn, we talked about it last week, the joint practice sessions. Be aware of what's going on in the joint practice sessions. Last week, Quinn was happy with the Commanders' look in the joint practice session. As a result, he announced he was going to sit 30-plus guys for the game, and that certainly affected Washington's results, both on the field and the point spread. That being said, his quote after Washington 13 penalties compared to 2 for New England, all 3 phases, I thought it was sloppy. They stacked, and that showed sloppiness to me. And then in practice was just the opposite, so that did not make me happy. Perhaps a bit more urgency this week for the Commanders when it comes to the game. But again, if the joint practices are good, I don't think Quinn's going to worry about it all that much.
All right. We'll be back next Monday. I'll be in Ireland. We're going to try to make sure that I have good Wi-Fi and can be here. If not, Dan Alexander will be filling in the host chair for me. Kelly Stewart, Kelly in Vegas on all your social channels. Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. Make sure you guys hang around.